Chapter 716. Chapter 716. The comprehensive invasion of the emergent school, a series of terrible fluctuations in spiritual energy, woke Yi Shiwen up straight from close cultivation. Both he and the Star Beast avatar were awakened at the same time. However, there was no movement from his Star Beast avatar. Instead, it closed its eyes and continued to absorb the energy of the barrier. His actual body stood up and walked out to see what happened. He had managed to restrain the fire in his heart altogether. He was almost close to breaking through to the Great Sage Realm. Just when he was planning to swallow the violet limitless chi pellet, a violent vibration suddenly happened outside. Can it be that the emergent school is here? Yi Ziwen's expression suddenly changed at the thought of this possibility. If that was the case, then it would be terrible. The reality was that once the emergent school started to act, it would be an all-around attack. The all-around attack initiated by the emergent school was nothing important, but the main issue was that he was not ready. He had not broken through to the Great Sage while his Star Beast avatar had not stepped into the half-step transcendent realm. Both of them were nearly there. All they needed was some more time for both of them to achieve a breakthrough. At that time, even if the emergent school launched their full assault, he would have some ability to protect himself. At least, he would be able to escape from the clutches of the masters of the transcendent realm. When the time came, he would have the option of either launching an assault directly or to retreat to defend the school. However, now that he had yet to achieve a breakthrough, he was still in trouble. Yi Shiwen had just arrived on the ground and instantly felt the violent fluctuations in the air. Battle cries of the true martial school masters who were stationed here for defending the area were heard from a distance. Everyone, let's leave quickly and immediately retreat back to true martial school. An all-around assault was launched to us by the emergent school. What? The emergent school? A comprehensive assault? Oh God, it actually happened. What should we do? What should we do? We are done for. The emergent school is too terrifying. It's okay. Where we are now isn't facing directly at the school. So, even if the masters of the emergent school come over, they will not focus all of their assaults in this direction. We can all escape. At this time, the current situation could be described as to be in a turmoil and frenetic activity. They no longer had the confidence to defeat the army of the emergent school. At this time, what they had in mind was how would they be able to escape from the clutches of these masters of the emergent school. Yi Shiwen, the emergent school, has launched their assault. Yimo's voice reached Yi Ziwen's mind. Yi Shiwen looked at the sky. The entire sky was covered by the clouds. The clouds were full of shadows. Unknown number of masters were lurking in the shadows. Numerous Sage Realm masters were deployed, a blatant proof that the emergent school had deployed their massive army. Otherwise, it was impossible for so many legions to appear. These were not the general disciple of the emergent school. Instead, it was a legion called the Tao Soldiers. The true martial school also had this kind of legion. The same for the Great Yu Empire at that time. The so-called Tao Soldiers were a group of soldiers who were proficient in martial arts and were raised by tyrannical and influential masters. These were no ordinary soldiers. They all possessed superb martial arts skills. Even the most elite corps were composed of the Sage Realm masters. It was conceivable that the damage inflicted by such a group of armies would be immense. They were not ordinary disciples. From the time they were handpicked, they had been fed with various medicinal materials and were taught secret martial arts techniques. They were also being drilled in arrays. All of these trained disciples were trained to become martial art warrior armies, which were meant to be better than the ordinary armies. However, they existed as a group. Tao soldiers who were left alone would never be able to fight against any ordinary disciple of equal power realm. However, in the same way, their potential was completely used up. Their room for improvement for the future was also very small. They would end up exhausting all of their resources in one go when they lose. This could not be compared to genuine disciples. However, every enormous power had raised such Tao soldiers. When it came to conquering a certain big force, it was necessary to rely on such Tao soldiers. The effect was more subtle in a group battle if disciples were deployed instead. In short, The Tau soldiers, which were weapons of mass destruction, were never deployed in a normal melee. Conversely, if the Tau soldiers were really dispatched, then it would become a battle to the end. Yi Shiwen opened his eyes and saw that above the infinite sky, many true martial school disciples were fleeing. Behind them were a group of emergent school disciples. There were a lot of Tau soldiers who were pursuing the true martial school disciples all over the place. Among them, a great deal of great sages' aura was faintly hidden in it. In the beginning, there were a few great sages on the outer battlefield and were not passive. However, the great sages were now being transferred back. Yi Shiwen was the only one left behind. All of this happened when Yi Shiwen was in close cultivation. The true martial school simply did not have the capability of retaliate in the face of their launched assault. However, what Yi Shiwen was confused about was where the assault was being mainly launched at. Hence, even if there were not any great sages of a higher order within the great sage, there were only the great sages of a lower level. Not even the masters of the transcendent realm were in the group. A wave of tyrannical aura flew out from the extraterritorial battlefield. It was from the many sage realm masters who were keeping watch in the true martial school. All of them were startled at once and were fighting against the emergent school's disciple in a group. However, it was a mystery how they were a match to the emergent school's disciple. This was not due to their suboptimal strength, but that there was a huge gap between the number of people in that group and to the number of people in the emergent school group. Nevertheless, at this time, there was no other way. They must first find some ways to beat the emergent school army to retreat. Then, they would have time to escape the place one after another safely. Otherwise, they would be chased around by the opponents to be murdered. When that time came, they would utterly be defeated. Moreover, the most important thing was that this was beyond their imagination. At first, they thought that they were able to make their escape before the arrival of the emergent school, but they did not expect that the emergent school would launch an assault abruptly, which directly tore the space apart. The army suddenly appeared on the extraterritorial battlefield through the teleportation array, which gave true martial school little to no time to make their escape. Anyway, the assistance of these sage realm masters allowed some true martial school legend disciples who were a few times more in number to make their escape and take a breath for a moment. It's over. It's over. We are done for this time. We didn't expect that the masters of the emergent school would immediately appear. We did not even have the chance to escape. I didn't expect that the emergent school had arrived. Their assault came in like thunder. At first, I thought about how to escape only after the emergent school had launched their assault. I now regretted it. Come to think of it, it is really stupid of me. If I am part of the emergent school, there is no way I will give myself time to react to. A sound of anguished wailing was heard among the many true martial school disciples. On normal days, these people were not being highly valued in the true martial school. If they were valued, who would come out to practice their martial arts through toughening up at this time? They had no other choice. Compared with the privileged disciples who were valued by the faction, their martial arts skills had fallen behind severely. They had to make up for it in various ways. However, they did not expect that they would be buried here. Humph! Yi Shiwen let out a cold sneer. In his eyes, countless numbers of the sage realm's elders of the true martial school were beheaded continuously. They descended from the sky like dumplings. Finally, he could not help himself but to attack. A grand momentum was released once he launched his attack. His cold sneer was like a large bell and a thunder, making a rumble on everyone's heart. Although he had not broken through the great sage yet, his strength was unquestionable despite being only a half-step great sage. Moreover, during the 3 years of close cultivation, he was really almost there. Just a bit more, and he could break through the great sage realm anytime. His strength had increased not by just a bit, but by a greater amount compared to last time. Miao Yu was struggling to beat back a young captain of the Tau soldier, who was of the level of the sage realm in the emergent school. This was a rather tight situation for him. Although these Tau soldiers were not mindless puppets, they all had their own state of mind. However, they were basically deranged as they sacrificed their corporeal body and tampered with them as though they were weaponry. Within the whole force, They were the most determined group in their will to engage in battle. They were completely dauntless. On the contrary, the general disciples were still hesitating to fight. However, at this time, they had no choice but to fight. On the one hand, their opponent overpowered them. On the other hand, the number of opponents was also 10 times, or even 100 times that of the true martial school. Furthermore, there were a lot of Tao soldier armies who had not made a single move from far away. There were as many as 2,000 people. Most of them were also from the legend realm. It was unknown how many sage realms and masters of the great sage realm were mixed among them. Despite not being the main force, such a large army was enough to sweep away the entire southern region. From here, it could be seen how powerful the entire emergent school was. Miao Yu was somewhat despaired in his heart. Several powerful Tao soldiers who were of the sage realm level appeared beside him. Each and every one of them emerged victorious from the piles of corpses and waves of blood. None of them were inferior to him. Shah! 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 These overbearing Tao soldiers charged straight towards him to kill him. Bang! Miao Yu was hit directly, flew away, and vomited a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured in an instant, and there was no other way for him to hold on to. It's over. I am about to die. Miao Yu wailed anguishedly in his heart. Every one of these Tao soldiers' masters was not afraid of death. Most importantly, there were too many of them. There was no end to them no matter how many of them he killed. You won't win. When our school gets our own hands free, we will wipe all of you out. Miao Yu let out a sorrowful shriek. Thinking of destroying us? You are way too naive. Today not only will we annihilate all of you guys, we will then launch another assault to the headquarters of your true martial domain after this. In the end, the true martial school will only vanish in a puff of smoke. A contemptuous voice, which was full of disdain for true martial school, emitted from among the numerous number of masters in the sky. Boom! A large rumbling sound was heard, and a fiery red big hand grabbed it. The previously rampant Tao soldiers were immediately caught and killed. In the face of this big hand, the ordinary Tao soldiers of the Sage Realm were just like ordinary ants and were crushed to death. Chapter 717. Chapter 717. Is he still a human? Who is it? There was a scream coming from the emergent school's phalanx 1. Even though they were stunned by the sudden change, they didn't take these true martial school disciples seriously at first. According to the information they received, the actual master of true martial school here had already retreated back to true martial school. The rest were some small potatoes who were not worth mentioning at all. If it was not rumored that there was a big secret of true martial school, they would not even come here. Although this army was only a small part of the emergent school's army, it still showed the importance they put on this place. But they didn't know Yi Shiwen was presiding here. Yi Ziwen's arrival was very low-key, and he didn't alarm many people at all. Hence, their spies didn't get the news at all, but they probably wouldn't be bothered even if they got news about it. For them, a couple of great sages couldn't change the overall situation at all. Of course, it would be a different story if it was a half-step transcendent realm master. This is completely lawless. Yi Shiwen walked all the way to the sky with a black look, too. It's Brother Yi. Yea, we are saved. Many disciples' morale was greatly boosted upon seeing Yi Ziwen's appearance. There was a surprised expression on their faces. They never thought that they could actually see Yi Shiwen appearing here. Following Mu Shengji's defeat, Yi Ziwen's battle achievement spread throughout true martial school instantly. Although many people were questioning the method he used to defeat Mu Shengji, he was a distinguished master anyhow. Their safety was much greater with him presiding here. Particularly, Yi Ziwen's awesome and thunderous strike just now had boosted everyone's morale. Miao Yu looked at Yi Shiwen thoughtfully. He did not expect that it was Yi Shiwen who saved his life on the verge of death. This was something he had never thought of before. The enmity between Yi Shiwen and Law Enforcement Hall could be said to be very difficult to resolve. He originally thought that Yi Shiwen was kind enough to not delve into the enmity between them in the past, but he didn't even dare to imagine that Yi Shiwen would actually save him. In Yi Ziwen's mind, it didn't matter which party you were from at this time. They were only true martial school people now, and Yi Shiwen couldn't stand aside when they were in danger. Thank you, Brother Yi, for saving my life. Miao Yu came forward to greet Yi Shiwen. Regardless of the past grievances, it all didn't matter now, because Yi Shiwen saved his life this time. Although Yi Zaiwen's time of cultivating martial arts was way shorter than him, he was willing to call him Brother Yi. This is Brother Yi. He is really magnificent. The sharp blow just now killed several soldiers of Sage Realm level. He is really majestic. Yeah, our chances of winning are much greater with him around. We even have higher confidence if we have to escape. Yeah. Whoever dares to say that Brother Yi does not live up to his name, I will beat him up now. This kind of strength is much stronger than us. Yeah, no matter what method he used to defeat Brother Mu, it is like a fight between deities for us. Is there any difference? It is not something we can dig into. Everyone felt relieved after seeing that Yi Shiwen was powerful. Anyway, it was undoubtedly a marvelous thing to be able to have a tyrannical master like Yi Shiwen presiding during this dangerous period. A half-step great sage. Good. A little half-step great sage even dared to obstruct the advancement of my army. They'll just wipe you out together. I was just worried about not having a decent contribution this time. If I can kill a half-step great sage, it is also a small gain. A cold voice came out from the emergent school army. A Tao soldier head walked out of the army. He was a sturdy Tao soldier who was actually a great sage. Regardless of the identity, the person was mighty if he cultivated to the level of the great sage. The status of Tao soldier couldn't be compared with typical disciples. The former was more like a group of cannon fodder, but it would be a different case when a Tao soldier reached the great sage level. Then, he was no different from the real power figures of a normal great sage. Moreover, he was one of the Tao soldier heads leading this particular army. Several powerful great sages' aura was hidden among the crowd behind him, but how could they escape from Yi Zaiwen's eyes? You want to kill me? Yi Zaiwen's gaze was unusually sharp, and he glanced at the Tao soldier head. The Tao soldier head's heart was chilled all of a sudden. He didn't know why there was a tremor in his heart, but he didn't take it seriously. He thought it was nothing but a mere tremor. However, he was flying into a rage out of humiliation. Although no one knew it, he felt quite humiliated. You shall die. Stop acting pretentious in front of me. The Tao soldier head roared and pounced towards Yi Shiwen, waving a spear in his hand. At first, there was a flash of chill which broke the space, and then the spear shot like a dragon straight into Yi Zaiwen's face. A powerful killing technique was delivered in an instant. He also did not know what happened to him. He actually had some fears about a half-step great sage. What is a half-step great sage in the face of a mighty great sage like me? Although half-step great sage was claimed to be able to enter great sage only by half a step, it was a far cry from him as long as Yi Shiwen was not a great sage. There was nothing to be compared at all. The powerful attack instantly broke through the space, punctured the vast sky, and formed a huge black crack. It was a space crack that was constantly mending itself. It directly swept towards Yi Shiwen. Brother Yi, be careful. Miao Yu, who was next to Yi Shiwen, was suddenly shocked and quickly reminded him. The previous enmity was already over. At this time, Yi Shiwen might be the only guarantee for his survival. Hence, how could he not be nervous? But a great sage-level attack was really swift. Miao Yu had just finished reminding him, and the spear had swept to Yi Zaiwen's front in the speed of light. The spear seemed like it would kill Yi Shiwen at once. Yi Shiwen just raised his head calmly and suddenly moved. His speed was actually faster than the spear. He turned into a giant hand and grabbed the spear directly. Yi Shiwen caught the spear which pierced past his body with his hand. Bang! In the midst of the sonic boom, the giant hand caught the spear and twisted it instantly. The spear, which was refined from unknown metal, was caught immediately and crushed into scrap iron which looked like fried dough twist 3. Everyone from Emergent School's side looked at this scene dumbfoundedly. How is this possible? He is a great sage. Although he is only a great sage intermediate, there is no doubt that he is a great sage indeed. He is one of the heads of the Legion. His weapon is about to become a great holy tool. It is not far different from a great holy tool. This person directly caught it and twisted it into a bunch of scrap iron. What is happening? Only the warriors on the true martial school side knew what was going on at this time. Although the Yi Shiwen in front of them looked like he was only a half-step great sage, none of them dared to underestimate him. The reason was none other than because this guy with half-step great sage appearance defeated Mu Xingjie of Great Sage Great Perfection Realm. Even Brother Mu of the Great Sage Great Perfection Realm, who they respected like gods in their hearts, was defeated by Yi Shiwen. Meanwhile, this leader was just a great sage intermediate. He was nothing. Yi Shiwen had reached a mystified extent in their hearts. He was enough to compare with the previous Mu Xingjie. How was a great sage intermediate considered anything? Although they were only like ants for the great sage intermediate masters, their spirit had also lifted a lot by following Yi Shiwen. With Yi Shiwen around, a great sage intermediate was really nothing. I will give you back your things. Yi Shiwen smiled. The spear, which looked like scrap iron in his hand, suddenly burst into a powerful light on Yi Ziwen's hand, as if it was reborn in a flash. It was rejuvenated and turned back into a spear. The veins on Yi Ziwen's arm bulged. He threw the spear back in great momentum. Suddenly, a huge beam was launched into the sky. Every inch of the collided space collapsed at once, forming a huge hurricane. It was like a spear dragon, which was extremely terrifying. Everyone stared blankly at the scene in front of them, which was much bigger than the abnormal phenomenon initiated by the Tao soldier head just now. It was as though one shot would destroy the world, putting the world in ruin. The spear had a really terrifying force in Yi Ziwen's hands. It released a wave as great as a great holy tool, and returned to the Tao soldier head instantly with a speed of light and thunderous momentum. The Tao soldier head did not have the strength like Yi Shiwen. He simply couldn't block it at this moment. The spear instantly broke through all the defenses on his body. Puff! A splash of blood gushed out, and the Tao soldier head was directly penetrated by the spear. The horrifying force shattered the internal organs of his body immediately. It pulled the soldier along with its strong inertia and flew out. Bang! The spear directly slammed into the ground, blasting out a vast and deep hole about a dozen miles away. The ground sunk in, forming a huge dent. At the center, the Tao soldier head's body hung obliquely at the end of the spear with his eyes wide open. He couldn't believe that he died so miserably. Moreover, he died without having any power to fight back. There was a pin-drop silence. The wind blew up a bloody atmosphere. Everyone was dumbfounded. Looking at this scene, especially the emergent school masters, they were in disbelief. 1. A body of troops standing or moving in close formation. 2. Describing a person's face who is very angry about something. 3. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/mahua_snack. Chapter 718. Chapter 718. Don't you even think about leaving today. Is he still human? Everyone, especially those from emergent school, did not expect a half-step great sage to kill great sage. Yi Shiwen? Are you Yi Shiwen? Someone suddenly remembered the main culprit who caused emergent school to attack true martial school, who was the Fuse. Although everyone knew that the killing of one great sage directly caused the shocking battle between the two forces, this was basically a huge joke. It was just an excuse. Even so, many people remembered the name Yi Shiwen, especially since he actually killed a great sage when he was still a half-step great sage. This matter caused a huge stir not just in true martial school, but in the entire emergent school as well. No matter which force it was, such an impressive genius would attract the attention of countless people. Even though they were the enemy, emergent school knew a lot about Yi Shiwen. As soon as they saw such great battle prowess, they immediately recalled it, plus the conversations of the true martial school's disciples just now. With that, they were certain that Yi Shiwen in front of them was the trigger of this war. I spent so much effort trying to look for you, but you were easily found in the end. I didn't expect you to be Yi Shiwen. Emergent school has also studied you. As long as I can kill you, I can immediately obtain a lot of wealth. Among the endless group of Tao soldiers, someone said in great arrogance. Tyrannical spiritual senses swept over Yi Shiwen. All of them were wriggling with eagerness to try. In any case, the factor that led Emergent School to declare an attack was precisely Yi Shiwen. Whether it was funny or not, this was an unchangeable fact. The reward for Yi Shiwen was also very high, second only to those Transcendent Realm Masters. For these great sages, the Transcendent Realm Masters could be seen, but could not be touched. They dared not even come close. Otherwise, the recoil of the battle was enough to shock them to death. However, the situation was different with Yi Shiwen. Despite him having the record of killing a great sage, he was still a half-step great sage in the end who amounted to nothing. Obviously, they didn't know that Yi Shiwen did something astonishing in true martial school recently. He had defeated Mu Xingjie one-sidedly, which shocked people to their core. If one could kill Yi Shiwen, then he would be really rich. Even if it was these great sages, they couldn't help but be enticed by the high bounty on Yi Ziwen's head. Initially, they didn't expect to encounter him so early. After all, a genius of this degree must be well protected, hiding the true martial school, but now he had actually appeared in front of them. This is really a chance given by the gods. In their eyes, the current Yi Shiwen was no longer a person, but a huge treasure. Whoever could kill Yi Shiwen would get a shocking treasure. They could definitely leap to great heights. At that moment, the way Yi Shiwen just destroyed a great sage intermediate master with one move was at the back of their minds. They had already forgotten the huge shock Yi Yuan caused for them just now. Only the huge reward was in their minds. Whoosh! 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 In a blink of an eye, 6 great sages appeared around Yi Shiwen, and all of them were great sage late masters. Among them, there was also a great sage peak master. All of them were eyeing Yi Shiwen covetously, even watching each other with caution, fearing that their bounty would be robbed away. As for Yi Shiwen, they didn't even pay him any attention. Under the siege of the 6 great sage realm masters and the Tao soldiers in the distance, he could not possibly escape. Yi Shiwen, in their eyes, you are already meat on a chopping board to be butchered, Yi Mo said in a playful voice. Yi Shiwen raised the corner of his mouth. Yeah, they're so confident that they can defeat me. They even disregard me, but guard against each other. And at this moment, Yi Shiwen made a move. He stomped with his feet, tore through the sky like a bolt of golden lightning, and instantly appeared in front of a great sage late master. The great sage late master only saw a golden light flash before he saw that Yi Shiwen had already rushed over. He was suddenly surprised and angry. He had never thought that Yi Shiwen would dare to take the initiative to attack him. In their minds, Yi Shiwen was already a turtle in a jar, one and couldn't kick up any more waves. Who knew that Yi Shiwen would immediately prove the other party wrong with his actions? Piss off! The great sage late master roared. He suddenly formed a fist silhouette that almost filled up the sky. Each fist was ablaze, as if the stars were falling down in front of Yi Shiwen one by one. Raksha, Star Punch. The moment these stars rushed in front of Yi Shiwen, they all turned into Raksha too, roaring as they charged over. Each of them rushed over with the force of a thunderbolt. Every Raksha could smash a mountain. It was conceivable how terrifying this fist silhouette that almost filled up the sky. This great sage late master's strength should not be easily dismissed. He was even more tyrannical than the previous blood hangman. However, Yi Shiwen was more than a little stronger than he was at the time. At that time, he had just stepped in a half-step great sage late, but now was close to entering great sage. It was incomparable. Humph! Yi Shiwen sneered. He released a terrifying aura from his body. The Rakshas that were charging over stopped in a peculiar manner not far in front of him, blocked by a strange aura. Immediately after, Yi Shiwen spread out his big hands and formed a fiery red big hand. He reached through the whole sky to grab them. The Rakshas charging mightily through the sky were all wiped out in a flash, all turning into spiritual energy. Ha! Yi Shiwen shouted loudly. He stomped his foot suddenly and already moved in front of the great sage late. He clenched his fist. The endless starlights on his fist began to boil, and the mighty star power instantly shone through half the sky. The shattered star fist swept out in a flash, and the surroundings became a cosmic battlefield, cruel and cold. Golden light flickered like on his entire body, as if he was the only entity in the universe. His fist turned into a huge star on the spot and swooped down directly. Boom! Yi Zaiwen's fist was swift. The opponent didn't avoid it at all and was hit by a punch. Blood splattered out. The opponent's flesh almost crumbled in the sky, and all the bones in his body collapsed in an instant. How is this possible? How can you be so powerful? The man looked at Yi Shiwen, staggered. Just with a punch, he was almost killed by Yi Shiwen. Such a terrible fighting power was unimaginable. It was forgivable if they were the same rank, but Yi Shiwen was just a half-step great sage. He was badly wounded with one punch. It would only take 2 punches to finish him. However, Yi Shiwen didn't intend to answer him. He just stepped out and chased after him. Stop! Let's slay this fiend together. The great sage peak master was shocked and angry. He did not expect Yi Shiwen to be so difficult. What was more embarrassing to him was that Yi Shiwen even killed one of his men with just one punch under his leadership. To him, it was a slap to his face, mocking him for being unable to contain his subordinate. The others nodded in agreement and hurriedly pursued him. Yi Zaiwen's extreme strength deterred them just now. They acknowledged that they themselves were about the same level as the great sage realm late master. If Yi Shiwen could beat him severely with one punch, then he could also beat them severely. Now, they finally believed the earlier rumors that Yi Shiwen, who was a half-step great sage initial then, was able to kill a distinguished character of great sage initial. His combat power was too ferocious. If it was one-on-one, they might have to turn around and run away right now. They dared not fight back at all. Fortunately, there were several masters here, and one great sage realm peak master. In their view, no matter how strong Yi Shiwen was, there was no way he was as strong as a great sage realm peak. They were indeed right. Even if Yi Shiwen was stronger, it was impossible for him to cross that line. Even if he could blow up a great sage realm late master with one punch, he was not an opponent of a great sage realm peak. That was another realm. He had to wait until he entered great sage for that to be possible. However, he was faster. Before everyone caught up, he had already rushed up. He stomped his foot suddenly, breaking the sky beneath his foot. He instantly pounced onto the great sage realm late master, who was flying through the sky. Boom! This time, he couldn't fend off Yi Shiwen anymore. Yi Shiwen exerted great strength onto his foot and swooped down his kick. The opponent's body was torn apart in the air. Blood was splattered through the sky. He died tragically immediately, not even having the time to scream. You actually killed him. 2 great sages. You damn bastard. You killed 2 great sages of Emergent School. Damn, this is unforgivable. I will massacre 10 of your kind. The great sage realm peak master roared furiously. They were delusional, thinking that the great sage intermediate master just now died because of carelessness. Yi Zaiwen's attack was 2 with no time to react. However, this great sage late master was slaughtered by Yi Shiwen in front of them. To him, it was a huge embarrassment. Massacring 9 of Yi Zaiwen's kind could not dispel his anger. Only the destruction of 10 of Yi Zaiwen's kind could please him a little. You want to massacre my kind? Don't you even think about leaving today? Yi Shiwen sneered, murderous intention flashing in his eyes. His feet did not stop. Instead, he unexpectedly charged toward the Tao soldiers. The few great sages chased behind him, and there were countless Tao soldiers attacking him from the front. There was a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He swallowed a pellet, and his aura began to rise violently. Boom! Suddenly, there was the sound of thunder, and endless clouds began to gather. 1. Assuming someone like a trapped prey with no chance to retaliate. 2. Demon in Buddhism. Chapter 719. Chapter 719. Activating the great sage retribution. Loud and clear thunder rumbled through the heavens and the earth. Endless thunder clouds began to assemble, and thunder dragons writhed among them. What is going on? Everyone stared at the endless clouds that began to assemble in the sky. They would not have bothered if it were just ordinary clouds. The least powerful among those present could easily dissipate large clouds. The real problem was that these were no ordinary clouds. They could feel heaven's might from that endless layer of cloud. No doubt about it. It was heaven's might. The heaven's might was magnificent, majestic, and went straight to the hearts. Regardless of what kind of species or what kind of strong people, all were the people of heaven. Under the mighty heaven's might, all of them were equal. Only the stronger warrior would fear a little less. Although the warriors claimed to be in defiance against the will of heaven and fought for their own destiny, few really dared to go against the will of heaven in reality. This was because those who dared to go against heaven were all split to death by heaven's retribution. The so-called chaos was merely turning and tossing within the framework created by heaven. No matter what the chaos was, it had its rationality. Nothing was possible without rationality. All warriors feared heaven, no matter who they were. It was the same for righteous or evil warriors. Shivering in fear under heaven's might was normal, although no one dared to ascertain the existence of heaven. However, now everyone could feel the strong heaven's might from within this endless cloud, which meant that this cloud was not formed naturally. Speaking of which, there was fierce wind whipping around in the midst of this intense battle. Under normal circumstances, how could there be clouds gathering? Even if it was originally covered with dark clouds, it would have been scattered. Heaven's retribution. Someone wants to challenge heaven's retribution. Everyone's face changed as they did not expect that someone was going to challenge heaven's retribution right here and right now. The most terrifying thing to everyone was the sight of the endless dark clouds. It signified the scale of this heaven's retribution was huge beyond borders. The greater the expanse, the more terrifying this heaven's retribution. They did not expect that someone's heaven's retribution could be so large. Isn't heaven's retribution only formed when someone attempts to enter the transcendence realm? Even when they were elevated to the great sage, there was no such grand scene. As a matter of fact, there was not even 1% of such a scene. Within the endless clouds were lightning sparkles and human silhouettes. This frightful scene signified its nature as a mutated heaven's retribution. No witnesses present anticipate an encounter with such heaven's retribution. They had only heard of this mutated heaven's retribution in legends and the classics. Even the distinguished characters could not even do that. Those who could cross into heaven's retribution were already legendary characters. Who the hell is challenging it? Everyone's eyes quickly fell on Yi Shiwen because anomalies surged toward him continuously. His aura was constantly growing. There was a sign of him reaching the great sage realm in a single bound. In other words, his breakthrough was imminent. He was breaking through the great sage. As apparent as it seemed, Yi Shiwen was challenging heaven's retribution. Otherwise, there would not be such a terrible phenomenon. Suddenly, the face of the great sage peak master changed. He suddenly understood what Yi Shiwen was going to do. This was to destroy them all with the help of heaven's retribution. No wonder he dared to rush straight into the Legion. At first, the crowd thought Yi Shiwen was crazy like a headless fly one, and rushed into the Tao Soldier Legion. Come to think of it now, his intention was really vicious. He wanted to use heaven's retribution to bury them. What a vicious heart! The great sage Peak Master nearly broke his teeth as he gritted them tightly. If Yi Shiwen really lured heaven's retribution over, then their demise would be imminent. They would by default be the external force that helped Yi Shiwen to challenge heaven's retribution. Heaven's retribution would become more terrifying, and it was not impossible for the entire Tao Soldiers Legion to be completely wiped out. He finally understood what Yi Shiwen said just now, which was since they came, they would not be able to leave. Yi Shiwen had this in mind all along. "Hurry! Retreat!" That great sage Peak Master quickly shouted. But at this time, there was nowhere to go. Rather, it was already too late. Even if he shouted himself hoarse, his voice could not reach the ears of a legion of 10,000 soldiers. Even then, many people still did not understand what was going on. This was not because they were stupid, but rather they were instantly dumbfounded by this abrupt incident. Thinking of leaving now? Too late. Yi Shiwen snorted. Just a moment ago, he started thinking of this idea. The 10,000 Tao Soldiers Legion were horrifying. He was just a half-step great sage, even if a young powerhouse like Mu Xingjie would not dare to resist. Yi Shiwen did not want to spare them. So, he could only use this method of borrowing the power of Heaven's Retribution to annihilate them all. Of course, the Heaven's Retribution had transformed to be more horrifying than it was originally, but Yi Shiwen did not care anymore. He wanted to utilize Heaven's Retribution to uplift his physical body and push his Tyrant Body Scripture to the 8th level in one shot. By that time, his strength would experience a fundamental improvement. Asterisk thunder roars. Asterisk as if to confirm Yi Zaiwen's words. Heaven was as though conveying its intention to kill. The neatly ordered heavenly lightning troops appeared in front of everyone. The weakest among the heavenly lightning troops was at least of Sage Realm level. All the heavenly lightning troops who concentrated together were enough to shake the world, sweeping away any other force. Moreover, there were also a lot of great Sage Realm Masters within the group. This terrible army swept down from the sky. From a distance, it was a yellow torrent violently charging out from the majestic clouds. That Tao Soldiers Legion was a well-trained legion. They soon reacted, forming their phalanx. Boom! With a huge roar, the emergent school's army was instantly penetrated and the entire phalanx was cut in half. There were shouts everywhere. The Tao soldiers and the heavenly lightning troops fought fiercely. At this time, no one was able to contend with Yi Shiwen at all. All their effort was concentrated on the heavenly lightning troops in front of them. You are so ruthless. The great sage Peak Master looked at Yi Shiwen, his body trembling with anger and his face complexion turned ashen. He did not expect that it would end up like this. The confrontation just started. Thousands of Tao soldiers or the emergent school disciples were immediately killed on the spot. The loss was so great that even the great sage Peak Master felt distressed. If this continued on, the entire Tao Soldiers Legion would be annihilated. No matter how ruthless I am, I cannot be compared to you. Yi Shiwen sneered from the side. Countless thunder dragons descended from the sky, striving to bombard him. His body emitted a green mist, rendering him invulnerable to the bombardment. The scene looked dreadful. The sky was full of lightning. Most of the heavenly lightning troops were stopped by the Tao Soldiers Legion, or rather they had no other choice to fight these troops because these heavenly lightning troops had no real consciousness. They all rely on instinct. Since they appear under Heaven's retribution, the Legion presumed the troops were helping Yi Shiwen. Everyone in the Legion had united against the troops, not for the reason to help Yi Shiwen, but to protect themselves. However, even so, a large number of thunder dragons fell straight from the clouds to Yi Zaiwen's body. Yi Shiwen ran the Tyrant Golden Body, and all of the lightning energy was absorbed by him. For every energy absorbed for him, he could strengthen his Tyrant Golden Body. Tyrant Golden Body had been stuck on the 7th level peak for a long time with no breakthrough. At this moment, he was going to leverage Heaven's retribution to make his breakthrough. So, even though he already knew that activating Heaven's retribution at this very moment would render it more powerful due to the presence of these Tao Soldiers Legion, he did not care. It was because a more powerful Heaven's retribution was not a bad thing for him. Instead, he could use this Heaven's retribution to hone his physical body, completely transforming himself, and let his physical body break through the 8th level in one fell swoop. With the 8th level acting as the fundamentals of his body, his strength would simply have another improvement. Even the masters of the Transcendent Realm could not kill him with one blow. This would become his life-saving opportunity in this turmoil. As long as he was not hunted by multiple Transcendent Realm Masters, he had a chance to escape. This was very important. Although it was impossible to defeat the Transcendent Realm Masters, it greatly improves the chance of surviving. You dare to absorb the power of Heaven's retribution. The great sage Peak Master looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. Heaven's retribution power was both violent and just. It was one of the supreme forces between heaven and the earth. Ordinary people had to carefully make preparations to challenge heaven's retribution. It was impossible for them to be like Yi Shiwen, strolling idly, without making any preparations in heaven's retribution challenge. The most important thing was that he dared to absorb such a violent power. This almost astounded him. Any normal person who dared to do the same would be instantly blown apart. How come he is okay? How strong is his physical body? Or is he a humanoid tyrannosaurus? Thinking of this, a murderous thought flashed through the eyes of this great sage peak master. Now that Yi Shiwen was already so horrifying, if he was allowed to successfully pass through heaven's retribution, then he would be beyond control. He had to take this opportunity to kill him before he successfully passed through heaven's retribution and before he could transform into a great sage. Otherwise, it would inevitably become a big trouble. What a metaphor for somebody who is rushing around frantically. Chapter 720. Chapter 720. Tyrant Body Scriptures, 8th Level Charge. Kill him. Otherwise, none of us will live today. Let's kill him, and heaven's retribution will stop. The great sage peak master shouted. It was undeniable this great sage peak master was still very clear-headed at this time. Although the Tao Legion was in danger of overturning now, this was all because of Yi Shiwen. Because this was the great sage tribulation he triggered. Once he died, then the entire heaven's retribution would disappear, and it would not continue to be launched at all. Therefore, everything could be avoided as long as Yi Shiwen was killed. No matter what, it could be said that they suffered great losses today. 2 great sages and thousands of soldiers were lost in an attempt to kill Yi Shiwen. It was a great loss, but there was no way out now. They could only force themselves to kill Yi Shiwen in order to survive. Otherwise, they would probably be overwhelmed by heaven's retribution and be completely exterminated at that time. Yi Shiwen didn't stop at all and rushed directly into the lightning sea. No, it was more like the lightning sea formed around his whole body. There were Tao soldiers who fought against those heavenly lightning troops and thunder dragons. But Yi Shiwen was the one who needed to cross the retribution after all, so most of the disasters were still flying towards him. At this time, it was no longer just storms that fell from the sky, but various types of weapons. Each of these weapons contained unimaginable mandates, and countless mandates condensed on the weapon. Every weapon which fell down could kill any true Wei legend. Even Sage Realm Masters might suffer severe injury if they were not careful. Yi Shiwen formed a giant hand which covered the sky and caught the countless weapons which filled the entire sky. He exploded them into a mass of energy directly, all of which were absorbed by Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen only felt that these violent energies which entered his body were domesticated into the usable energy by the Tyrant Body Scripture. The energy fell into the mini-universe in his diaphragm. At this time, the mini-universe was also operating aggressively. It was originally about the size of a stellar system. Yi Shiwen refined it according to the pattern of the solar system, based on his memory. But now the boundary was constantly expanding. It showed hints of transforming into a galaxy, which was the Milky Way. As Yi Shiwen was about to step into the Great Sage, this solar system was almost completing its transformation too. With the solar system as the center, it directly reorganized as the Milky Way. This was a crazy thing that Yi Shiwen could do. Other people simply would not dare to even think about it, because this was too dangerous. In case some accidents happened, the entire body would really collapse, and it would be a really tragic death. However, once the Milky Way was formed successfully, then Yi Shiwen's strength would really have a huge leap. In addition to the Tyrant Body Scripture that had a breakthrough to the 8th level, Yi Shiwen's strength could perhaps wipe out a great Sage Peak realm in an instant. Yi Shiwen charged into the clouds continuously, and the great sages behind him were pursuing closely. At this time, they must not let Yi Shiwen escape. If they couldn't kill Yi Shiwen as soon as possible, then the entire Tao Legion might be abolished and collapsed in a flash. Perhaps the whole army would be exterminated. This was what they couldn't afford in any case. This damn heaven's retribution will only end by killing Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen also knew their exact plan. He naturally knew what they were thinking, so he could not be caught by them. As long as he dragged on for a while, the fearful legion would be completely exterminated. Innumerable lightning weapons were thrusted downwards, but even if each weapon hit Yi Zaiwen's body, it would only create metallic clashing sounds on his body. Then, there was a burst of green smoke. There was no way of inflicting further harm to Yi Shiwen at all. Yi Zaiwen's tyrant body scripture had not progressed to the 8th level yet. But even if it was only the 7th level of tyrant body scripture, it also reflected the incomparable solidity of his body. But the great sages behind him were not so lucky. Their bodies couldn't be compared with Yi Shiwen, even though their bodies had already been perfected upon entering the great sage. But perfection did not mean that it was very powerful. The strength of the physical body was divided into two aspects. One was the innate bloodline. Some with special physiques would have terrifying physical bodies like Titan body. Another was being invincible by martial techniques. For instance, Yi Zaiwen's tyrant body scripture was one of the best. The tyrant body which he cultivated according to the tyrant body scripture could even beat the Titan body. It already amazed countless people at that time. But there were obviously none of them mentioned. Although they were great sages, they were obviously not comparable to Yi Shiwen. At this time, they looked rather miserable. Although each of these lightning weapons was not particularly powerful, it was really horrifying when so many of them fell down like raindrops. They had to utilize their great sage weapons to block on top of their heads at this time. The weapons were not weak intrinsically as all attacks were resolved. Their great sage weapons were also very tyrannical. Although they seemed quite miserable, they were not in danger. The more miserable they were, the more they hated Yi Shiwen now. If it was not for him, they wouldn't be so miserable. Of course, it would not cross their minds that they would not encounter such a thing if they did not come and attack true martial school. The more Yi Shiwen flew upwards, the more horrifying the encounter was. The lightning was no longer in weapon form, but it transformed into vicious beasts. Roar! A real lightning dragon roared and slashed towards Yi Shiwen. It actually had great sage-level strength. Furthermore, it was composed of energy, so it would be very difficult to kill it. Typical great sages who encountered it would be doomed. The huge dragon claw formed traces of martial arts. That was the dragon claw, the most original and authentic dragon claw. The dragon claw simulated by human hands could not be compared with the real dragon claw at all. Yi Shiwen did not show any weakness and shot a coiled dragon palm directly. His hands turned into two huge dragon claws, seizing the golden light directly. Bang! A mega explosion sound echoed out. The golden lightning dragon screamed desperately as his dragon claws were torn by Yi Shiwen directly in the air. Although Dragon Clan's body was terrifying, it was not really a Dragon Clan after all. It was only composed of energy. Moreover, Yi Zaiwen's body was more powerful. That mighty body was born to challenge the legendary demon god. Yi Shiwen even dared to challenge the real Dragon Clan, not to mention an energy composition. Therefore, Yi Shiwen didn't stop after he tore the dragon claw directly. He stepped in front of the golden lightning dragon in an instant, waving his two huge dragon claws and slashing towards the lightning dragon. Slash! This lightning dragon was simply torn into halves by Yi Shiwen on the spot. It transformed into a mass of lightning energy, which was absorbed by Yi Shiwen. This lightning dragon's energy was not comparable to those of the previous lightning weapons at all, because there was a qualitative difference. This was the energy that had truly reached the great sage level. It was completely absorbed by him now. The benefits it brought to his tyrant body scripture were simply beyond description. Yi Shiwen had a content feeling in his heart now. The anger and depression in his heart just now were forgotten all at once. His tyrant body scripture was about to have a breakthrough, and his cultivation was about to break through into the great sage realm. At the same time, he could also destroy the emergent school's Tau Legion. There was nothing else which was better for him. He wanted to further break in and rush in. Then, he could behead all these lightning-transformed vicious beasts and absorb all of them. He had a hunch that his 7th-level tyrant body was really close to a breakthrough. He looked around, and everywhere he saw was filled with various lightning-transformed vicious beasts. Moreover, Many of them were legendary creatures like the Azure Dragon, Red Vermilion, by Fawn 1, and many other vicious beasts were wandering in the clouds. These were originally the Heaven's Retribution, which would charge downwards in the next stage. All of them were vicious beasts of the Great Sage level. All of them had appeared in advance, because Yi Shiwen rushed up now. If they killed Yi Shiwen in advance, this Heaven's Retribution would also end. The great sages behind Yi Shiwen were a little stunned while looking at the legendary beasts in front of their eyes. Even if they knew that it was composed of lightning and not the actual beast, they still felt dizzy when they saw so many legendary divine beasts and vicious beasts. Have we come to the primitive era? They could actually see so many vicious beasts and divine beasts in every direction. Each of these beasts were monstrous. The great sages claimed that they could deal with any of these beasts, but once more than one vicious beast and divine beast surround them, it would be a dead end for them. Scanning the surrounding, there were actually hundreds of such vicious beasts and divine beasts. Once they go up, they might be torn in half instantly. While they were hesitating, Yi Shiwen had rushed towards the vicious beasts and divine beasts. The sounds of beasts roaring echoed all over their ears. Such a scene was really scary. In the face of hundreds of great sage-level vicious beasts and divine beasts, even the Yi Shiwen, who was still killing everywhere previously, was injured. He was soon cut by the sharp claws, and there were bloodstains all over his body. Some wounds were so deep that his bones were visible, while some nearly tore him off. But he kept battling tenaciously, constantly utilizing his Phoenix regeneration technique to heal his body wounds. Boom! Yi Shiwen blasted a vicious beast and absorbed its energy on the spot. Boom! Boom! One after another, legendary vicious beasts and divine beasts were gradually bombarded by Yi Shiwen high up in the sky. The beasts converted into energy, which was then absorbed by Yi Shiwen. His momentum was also constantly escalating. Every time he killed a vicious beast or a divine beast, his strength became stronger. Hence, his speed of killing those vicious beasts or divine beasts also accelerated. After what seemed like centuries, Yi Shiwen finally killed all the vicious beasts and divine beasts. The energy of utmost strength and utmost yang poured into his body, making his body seem to explode. The existing barriers of Tyrant Body Scripture were also blasted away in a flash. He finally reached the 8th level of Tyrant Body Scripture. 1. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/by_bird. Chapter 721. Chapter 721. Successive Massacre. The Tyrant Body Scripture's 8th level that was stuck for decades was finally reached. Golden light radiated off his body. If one looked closely, one would see a golden stream flowing on his body like water. As his Tyrant Body Scripture achieved breakthroughs continuously, the combination of divinity on his body and himself became deeper. The original divinity was not cultivated by Yi Shiwen himself. According to the legends, deities and Buddhas had their own golden bodies, which were tempered by their own divinity and cast into a supreme golden body. The golden body was indestructible, eternal, and untarnishable. The method that Yi Mo taught Yi Shiwen was actually the method these legendary figures used to form the golden body. It was combined with the tyrant body that Yi Shiwen cultivated at that time. Thus, Yi Ziwen's body appeared scarier and scarier. The more he cultivated, the scarier his body became. If it was just the tyrant body, although already tyrannical, it would not be as scary. Now that it was combined with the golden body that only deities could nurture, his own body that already had the tyrannical tyrant body made another huge leap. However, Yi Shiwen was not a deity. He himself did not have the so-called divinity. So these divinities were not his own, but were originally extracted from the descendants of those beast god on Thousands Demon Beast Island. Not only did the divinity not belong to him, it belonged to the deities of the demon clan and were even more incompatible with Yi Shiwen. If it weren't for the Tyrant Body Scripture's impressive effect of absorbing all the energy in the world, he would not have been able to form the golden body. Although he had now formed a golden body, only he knew that there was a huge gap between these divinities and himself, and that there was no way they could truly integrate. However, as his tyrant body scriptures level became higher, the integration of divinity became more successful. His tyrant golden body became more overbearing. Initially, these divinities belonged to the beast god. Their brands were in the divinity. They could even be turned into countless lesser beast gods, but they were now getting smoothed out little by Yi Zaiwen's tyrant body scripture. What used to be an unstable factor was now nothing. Ha 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 ha. Yi Shiwen was feeling carefree. This battle was delightful. The wounds on his body that were deep to the bone were being restored bit by the Phoenix regeneration technique. At this time, the great sages below had caught up. Those terrifying, ferocious beasts were eliminated by Yi Shiwen one by one. Naturally, they dared to come up. They couldn't let Yi Shiwen continue to achieve breakthroughs without restraint. Otherwise, they might really die here. As the battle continued to develop, more and more heavenly lightning troops joined the battle, disrupting the Tao soldiers' phalanx. At this point, the Tao soldiers had lost tens of thousands of people. This was an unprecedented loss. They had never encountered such a terrifying opponent. Compared with the heavenly lightning troops who had no main consciousness and were unconcerned about life or death, these Tao soldiers' boast of not fearing death seemed very laughable now. One side was not afraid of life and death, and the other side was unconcerned about life and death. The winner was obvious. Moreover, these heavenly lightning troops only had pure martial art consciousness. Although they did not have main consciousness, they had mastered martial arts to an unimaginable level. The Tao soldiers fought bleakly. If the fight continued this way, it would not last long. The entire Tao soldier legion would be annihilated. However, if they were asked to charge toward the heavenly lightning troops, they would not even have the guts. They were definitely about to be torn apart soon. At this time, there was only one way. That was to kill Yi Shiwen in order to restore the decline. Seeing these great sages rushing up, Yi Shiwen was not afraid at all. He just laughed aloud. Good job on coming here. The 8th level of his tyrant body scripture was complete. Just as he was looking for someone to practice it, these people arrived. He moved suddenly. A layer of golden divinity waves appeared beneath his feet. As if his body was a bolt of golden light, he tore through the sky and rushed directly toward those great sages. This punk actually dares to rush over. You're really courting death. The great sage Realm Peak Master sneered, not taking Yi Shiwen seriously. He could already tell since before that although Yi Shiwen regarded the great sage late sages as though they were nothing, Yi Shiwen was definitely not his opponent. Otherwise, would he still have to run away? Yi Shiwen could have directly killed someone on his level. Although Yi Zaiwen's counterattack at this time surprised him, he still saw Yi Zaiwen's cultivation as half-step great sage late, so he was not worried. He did not care about Yi Zaiwen's counterattack. He immediately blasted toward Yi Shiwen. Holy music played, and golden lotuses appeared on the ground. Countless holy realm dwellers were chanting ancient scriptures, and the holy domain land of happiness that everyone yearned for erupted. This was a holy domain. He was practicing the supreme lost technique of emergent school, the emergence godly fist. In his hands, the emergence godly fist had reached the point of perfection. Compared with Lao Yi, it became many times more overbearing and was totally incomparable. He immediately fell directly on Yi Zaiwen's body to crush Yi Shiwen to death with the supreme holy domain. Yi Shiwen was not afraid at all. He took the initiative, clenched his fists, and turned it into a blazing star, delivering a heavy bombardment. Boom! The star fell into the holy domain instantly, causing the world to change color. In the holy domain, the ground trembled and the mountains shook. Countless holy realm dwellers in the turmoil vanished from the face of the earth. The so-called Pure Land, the so-called Holy Domain, was instantly penetrated by Yi Zaiwen's punch. An apocalyptic scene emerged. This was not the first time he fought against the emergence godly fist, but none of those times were as swift as this time. With no care in the world, Yi Shiwen crushed him with his tyrannical body. His fists were invincible. all attacks were useless. After his fist blasted through the entire holy domain, it landed hard on the fist of that great sage realm peak veteran. Boom! A loud noise sounded, as if a huge stone had smashed into the calm lake water. Unimaginable. Spherical lights burst out in all directions. The terrifying undulation instantly flattened a large part of the surrounding space. A huge mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Strong winds swept out in all directions, rushing out in circles. The scene where Yi Shiwen was immediately blasted to pieces that the great sage realm peak master anticipated never happened. On the contrary, both of them were actually even. Neither wanted to give in. The whole clash seemed long, but in fact it happened in just an instant. The two began to fight with all their strength, unwilling to compromise. The great sage realm peak master was very depressed. He actually ended up evenly tied with Yi Shiwen. However, Yi Shiwen was very satisfied. He just achieved a breakthrough at the 8th level of the Tyrant Body Scripture and could contend against the great sage realm peak master. Once he fully adapted to the 8th level Tyrant Body, his strength would continue to rise. If he could also achieve a breakthrough at the realm and enter the Great Sage, destroying the Great Sage Realm Peak would not be a problem by that time. His powers were increasing greatly. How could he not be happy? For the other few Great Sage Realm late masters who had just arrived, a terrified look only appeared on their faces at this time. Initially, they relied on the fact that Yi Shiwen could not contend with Great Sage Realm Peak Master. All they had to do was help out on the side. Who knew that Yi Shiwen could now contend against a Great Sage Realm Peak Master without losing ground? This was different from what they originally thought. They haven't come to their senses yet, but Yi Zaiwen's offense had already arrived. The surroundings seemed to have become a universe. The vast sea of stars was Yi Zaiwen's attack. He was like the only true god in the universe. The vast universe was controlled by him. Mightily, all the stars in the universe swooshed down. Ah! A great sage realm late master screamed in agony. He was directly bombarded by Yi Zaiwen's punch, turning into a mist of blood on the spot. Previously, Yi Shiwen could only deal a heavy but not fatal blow to a great sage realm late master, but now he could kill one with a punch. Although he did not seem to appear any different, in fact, there was a world of difference. His improvement in strength was obvious. Stop! The great sage realm peak master was shocked and furious. He charged over directly, dropping an emergence godly fist. Another holy domain fell down, puncturing the heavens, and was about to fall to Yi Shiwen's body. Golden light flashed on Yi Zaiwen's body. He directly avoided the holy domain that was crashing down. His body was like a dragon as he charged toward another great sage realm late master. Boom! Another punch directly smashed the great sage realm late master's body. The terrifying power instantly destroyed his spirit. Yi Shiwen showed no mercy. There was no room for easing up at all. He had already made up his mind. Since these people are already here, then there's no way of letting you leave. Yi Zaiwen's speed was extremely fast. With his tyrant body stepping into the 8th level in one fell swoop, his speed also achieved a fundamental breakthrough. When a person's speed exceeded the limit, how fast they could go was basically dependent on the person's body. Breaking through the sound barrier and the space barrier would cause a strong reactive force. Without a tyrannical body, he was afraid he would be torn apart directly. As Yi Zaiwen's body went up a level, his speed naturally became faster than before. Although demon wings didn't unfold, utilizing bodily techniques still made his speed extremely fast. The great sage realm master simply couldn't catch up. Although Yi Shiwen couldn't do anything about him, the two could only be regarded as equals. However, his speed was far inferior to that of Yi Shiwen. He could only watch helplessly as several of his great sages were slaughtered by Yi Shiwen. Boom! Boom! Too loud, sounds like thunder resounded through the sky. The two remaining great sage late masters were directly blasted by Yi Shiwen. Chapter 7:22. Chapter 7:22. The escalation of the heavens' retribution in front of Yi Shiwen, who just had a breakthrough. These masters were like babies, and they could not cause any harm to Yi Shiwen. The great sage Peak could only stare helplessly at Yi Shiwen massacring. Yi Shiwen just broke through the 8th level of the tyrant body scripture. It was like a metamorphosis. The great sage Peak master was terrified. If Yi Shiwen attains the great sage realm, who could control this young monster? The disciples of the true martial school who were watching the battle from afar stupidly stared at the godlike Yi Shiwen who was in the sky. Yi Shiwen stepped onto the void with golden divinity waves under his feet. He was engulfed with golden divine light all over, just like an omnipotent god made of gold. The omnipresent thunder only added a little power to him. It was unable to hurt Yi Shiwen, who was already at the 8th level of the tyrant body. While everyone was shocked by the heavenly appearance of Yi Shiwen, they also had mixed feelings in their hearts. At first, they had only heard of Yi Ziwen's terrifying success in battle, but now they could witness it in person. They did not know what was recorded in the legend, but they could see with their own eyes how Yi Shiwen slaughtered the great sages like killing chicken or dogs, almost scaring them to death. He is too strong. Although he had not shown his legendary horrifying cultivation that could defeat Mu Xingjie of the great sage great perfection, he was already a godlike man for them. Like Mount Tai and Mount Everest, did it make sense for humans to debate which was higher? In front of these mountains, humans were too insignificant. When he was only at the 7th level of the tyrant body, he still needed to be careful to deal with these heavens' retribution. However, now that he had entered the 8th level, he did not need to bother at all. Those thunder retribution that besieged him were completely absorbed by his tyrant body scripture, tempering his body and making him more powerful. Yi Shiwen just sneered and did not continue to entangle with the great sage Peak Master. Now that most of the great sage on the emergent school side had been beheaded by him, he still could not deal with this person yet. He would need to wait for the calamity to subside first, then come and deal with him. After he had broken through to the great sage realm, it would be easy to slaughter him. Boom! In the sky, Yi Ziwen's figure was like a dragon. He rushed straight into where the Tao Legion and the heavenly lightning troops were locked in a desperate battle and started a killing spree. To him, whether it was the Tao Legion or the heavenly lightning troops, they were all enemies. There was no difference at all, and all needed to be slaughtered. Yi Shiwen stomped dozens of the heavenly lightning troops in the battle, who turned into pure lightning energy and was absorbed by Yi Ziwen's tyrant body. He could feel his tyrant body became more tyrannic. These heavenly lightning troops were all made up of the purest lightning power in heaven's retribution. It was one of the purest energies in the sky and earth, in which Yi Shiwen could directly absorb these energies without having to filter any impurities. Hence, this was why he liked to kill these heavenly lightning troops. Yi Ziwen's terrible shock wave straight away blasted out dozens of Tao Legion nearby, who shrieked and were killed by the shock. Their strength was far too inferior compared to Yi Shiwen. Whether they were at the legend or sage realm, they were nothing in front of Yi Shiwen. At this time, the battle had entered the most intense stage. These Tao Legion rather fight to the death than to retreat, which thoroughly irritated heaven's retribution. An endless amount of heavenly lightning troops were constantly being produced in the air to join the battle. This would continue until all the Tao Legion were completely destroyed. Now the majestic Tao Legion, who originally numbered 10,000 people, were dead or wounded. Only about 10,000 people were left. The casualties exceeded 2/3. It was not that they did not want to escape, now they could not escape at all. The heavenly lightning troops surrounded them tightly in the periphery. This was the case with the so-called catch-a-turtle in the Urn 1, and most importantly, Yi Shiwen was the protagonist of heaven's retribution. Wherever he was, heaven's retribution would naturally be there. He followed this Tao Legion closely. The heaven's retribution would also follow this Tao Legion closely. They must be completely annihilated before he would be satisfied. Behind Yi Shiwen, the great sage Peak Master kept chasing Yi Shiwen, but his speed was far behind Yi Ziwen's speed. He could only watch Yi Shiwen keep flashing in and out, initiating a killing spree, and then absorbed a great amount of energy from the heavenly lightning troops, which made Yi Shiwen become more and more powerful. The Tao Legion was being struck, and their assets were plundered by Yi Shiwen. Although these Tao Legion were essentially treated as consumables, their status could not be compared as the official status. Their potential had long been cleanly overdrawn. The wealth on them was not comparable to the official disciples. However, the amount was still unbearably huge. In just this short period of time, the wealth that Yi Shiwen robbed was more than 100 million elixirs. Although it was nothing compared to Yi Ziwen's huge wealth, it was better than nothing. On the contrary, he had plundered 500 million elixirs from the great sage who he just beheaded quite some time ago. Yi Shiwen ignored the roar of the great sage peak master behind him. He focused on continuously slashing the Tao Legion and the heavenly lightning troops. There was no one who could stop him from going forward. The person who could destroy a legion alone was Yi Shiwen. It was conceivable if he was in the transcendent realm. He was barely a great sage. No, he had not stepped into the great sage yet. However, as heaven's retribution escalated, again and again, Yi Shiwen slowly found out that the heavenly lightning troops of the legend realm were nowhere to be found. The most he saw were the sage realm level masters. There were even a lot of heavenly lightning troops of the great sage level. This was the escalation of heaven's retribution again. Even Yi Shiwen had to deal with it carefully. Although none of them could cause a fatal threat to him, there were too many of them. A large number of heavenly lightning troops together could cause a fatal threat to him. Ha ha, Yi Shiwen, even heaven wants to destroy you. Don't you want to make use of heaven's retribution to destroy our Tao soldiers? Now you really shot yourself in the foot. If you look for a disaster, there is no escape. The great sage peak master saw what was happening and laughed out loud. His ashen face was full of joy and at this time looked a bit malevolent. Yi Ziwen's original plan was to make use of heaven's retribution to eliminate the Tao soldiers. But now with the further escalation of heaven's retribution, the heavenly lightning troops were becoming more and more powerful. Yi Shiwen would soon be drowned by the heavenly lightning troops of the great sage realm. In his view, this was the so-called retribution. Yi Ziwen's retribution was really heaven-sent. He did not chase. On one hand, he could not keep up. On the other hand, he wanted to watch Yi Shiwen being killed by heaven's retribution, which would be really a huge relief. Of course, the most important thing was that there were a lot of great sage realm, heavenly lightning troops around him. Heaven's retribution also regarded Yi Shiwen as another target to be eliminated. Yi Shiwen sneered, looked at the master of the great sage peak master, and said, "Do you think these heaven's retribution can do anything to me? Really ridiculous." Although he and this great sage peak master's master strength were almost on par, he had broken through the 8th level of the tyrant body, increasing his chance of survival. He had complete victory over this great sage peak master's master. The two sides were not at the same level. Yi Shiwen rushed straight into a team of heavenly lightning troops composed entirely of great sages. Various anomalies appeared all over the body. Various martial arts were deployed in his hands. They were all cast on those heavenly lightning troops without any hindrance or stagnation. The war had just begun and was not the end of it. Even if the Tao Legion were slaughtered, the real test for Yi Shiwen had just begun. The escalated heaven's retribution was more powerful than he thought. There were a large number of great sage-level heavenly lightning troops attacking, and most importantly, these heavenly lightning troops had formed a phalanx that was very difficult to deal with. However, at this time, he had no choice. If he were to make a choice at that time, he would still choose to activate the Great Sage Tribulation. Although it would lead to the escalation of heaven's retribution, it was better than being killed by all the Tao Legion. For the size of the Tao Legion at that time, even a strong man like Mu Xingjie could only flee in desertion. He had no choice. In the face of such a huge force, the strength of one person was too small. Even he could not really compete against the whole legion. He had no choice, but now he had to pay for the choices he made. In the distant empty sky, without anyone noticing, a figure was slowly twisted from the void, appearing on the horizon of the sky. The battle happening in the sky, even the mighty heaven's might could not affect him. A black cloak covered the whole body. No one knew his appearance, but he looked at Yi Shiwen, who was in battle coldly, revealing a pair of blood-red eyes. After letting out an inaudible cold sneer, this figure slowly disappeared into space. When it reappeared, it was already in the underground sealed area of the Star Beast. However, now Yi Shiwen, who was up in the sky, did not know about this. He had already fought to his heart's content. After breaking through to the 8th level of the tyrant body, his body suddenly leaped up one level. Even as he faced the ambush of the Great Sage Realm, there was no fatal threat, although there were some difficulties. On the contrary, he could use these empty spaces to continue blasting the heavenly lightning troops. 1. Catching a turtle in the urn, to set up an easy target for oneself. Chapter 7:23. Chapter 7:23. Finally entered Great Sage. As Yi Shiwen continued to blast the Great Sage heavenly lightning troops, he swallowed loads of Great Sage level energy into his body. A part of it was used to continue to refine the body and strengthen the 8th level Tyrant Boda's foundation. The other part gushed into the mini-universe in his diaphragm to expand his mini-universe. This allowed his observing person scripture to continue progressing towards the Great Sage Realm breakthrough. As more and more Great Sage Realm heavenly lightning troops were bombarded, his strength was getting stronger and stronger. He was getting closer to the Great Sage Realm. Yi Shiwen seemed to have entered an extremely profound and mysterious realm indistinctly. His body just instinctively repeated the routine of blast, absorb, and get stronger. Then, he would reblast, reabsorb, and become even stronger. He was quite similar to the heavenly lightning troops. He seemed to have lost his main consciousness in an instant and was fighting only with his martial art consciousness. He was becoming stronger gradually. His efficiency of butchering heavenly lightning troops was increasing. It would take a while before he could blast a heavenly lightning troops initially, and he could blast one soldier on almost every encounter now. His strength was surging rapidly with each attack. He reached the peak eventually. There was only a narrow margin before he could have a breakthrough into the Great Sage Realm. Yi Shiwen seemed to have shielded all the interferences and started a martial art training in his own world. The most important thing of a breakthrough from the Sage Realm to Great Sage Realm was the spirit transformation. This was something he had already done, but he must have powerful Great Sage Realm laws in order to truly be in the Great Sage Realm. Yi Shiwen was condensing the Great Sage Realm laws now. He gathered one after another Sage Realm laws and transformed them into the Great Sage Realm laws. When he had completed all of these, he would enter the Great Sage Realm officially. He had completed spirit transformation, which was the most difficult thing for other people. When his laws were transformed completely, he would become a great sage directly. Since he was in the midst of transforming now, he must calm his heart to feel the existence of the Heaven Way. The Great Sage Realm laws were far more profound than the Sage Realm laws. It was getting more and more difficult. Every time he completed the transformation of a law on his body, his strength was more powerful. A total of 9,900 Sage Realm laws on his body were constantly changing and appearing one after another above his head. At the same time, the laws in the sky were also absorbed and condensed. He became even more powerful. 1 law, 2 laws, 3 laws, 10 laws, 100 laws, 200 laws, 300 laws, 1,000 laws. His laws were being transformed little by little, and his body exuded the majesty of a great sage gradually. This was a kind of majesty after the spirit-level transformation which only great sages could exhibit. No, we can't let him continue transforming. The Great Sage Peak Realm Master barely blasted the Great Sage Realm heavenly lightning troops who were besieging them and saw the surprising scene coincidentally. Yi Shiwen had begun to condense the Great Sage laws after just a brief moment. If this continued, Yi Shiwen would achieve Great Sage very soon. Although he did not know why Yi Shiwen did not go through the most painful spirit transformation process, he knew that he could not allow Yi Shiwen to continue like this. Otherwise, he would be doomed for sure. He was about to go insane at this time, because there were only more than 1,000 people in the Tau Legion who were still fighting tenaciously. The rest were killed by the heavenly lightning troops. It was almost equal to the extermination of the whole army. At this time, he no longer carried the hope of saving this army. His only hope was to kill Yi Shiwen in order to seek revenge on behalf of them. But this hope became smaller gradually as Yi Shiwen became more tyranny. Right now was his only chance. He had to disrupt Yi Ziwen's enlightenment now, while Yi Shiwen was in the process of enlightenment. This was the only way to stop Yi Ziwen's enlightenment process and prevent Yi Shiwen from becoming a great sage. Only then he still had a chance of survival. Otherwise, the development of the situation would be fixed. The great sage peak realm master pounced towards Yi Shiwen suddenly. He risked everything in one blow in an attempt to kill Yi Shiwen immediately. He launched one holy domain downward directly so that he could press Yi Shiwen to death. Yi Shiwen opened his eyes suddenly. A beam of light flashed in his eyes and gave Yi Shiwen an indifferent look like how spiritual beings looked at mortal beings. It was indifferent and emotionless. It was actually his martial art consciousness dominating his body. Without the main consciousness, he looked cold and ruthless. He was not affected by anything at all. He drew a punch directly which was like a brilliant star core. Countless burning giant stars suddenly broke into the holy domain. Kaboom! In the midst of the huge sonic boom, the holy domain was exploded by the countless stars to the point of collapse, just like Armageddon depicted in the legends. Poof! The great sage peak realm master spurted blood, and he flew away like an unfettered kite. He was directly blasted away even before the previous scene of even battle appeared. The great sage peak realm master widened his eyes and couldn't believe it. Yi Shiwen couldn't compare with him at all at the beginning. Yi Shiwen kept escaping as he attacked. Then, Yi Shiwen was evenly matched with him, and he was hurt by Yi Ziwen's powerful punch now. It had not been a long time, but Yi Ziwen's cultivation had improved tremendously. He simply couldn't believe it. How did this happen? He is just crossing the great sage retribution. Why is there such a terrifying transformation? Plus, this happened before he passed the great sage retribution. He was very clear that this was not Yi Ziwen's limit. If Yi Shiwen survived the great sage retribution and transformed into a great sage successfully, then Yi Shiwen would not only have the ability to hurt him with one punch. It should be said that one punch could knock him out, and he would not have the power to fight back at all. He was in disbelief. He had seen someone had a breakthrough while battling before, but he never saw someone who got to such a terrifying extent after a breakthrough while battling. This person, who was not an opponent at all originally, could injure his rival with a punch now. How could there be such a horrifying improvement? Is he a freak? But the body dominated by Yi Ziwen's martial art consciousness didn't intend to continue to kill him. It just continued to manifest various martial arts miraculous phenomena and continued to fight with the heavenly lightning troops. It was as if nothing happened just now. The most important thing for Yi Shiwen was to have a breakthrough to become a great sage. Once he had a breakthrough to become a great sage, then he could kill the great sage peak realm master with a breeze. 4,000 laws, 5,000 laws, 6,000 laws. Yi Shiwen was still getting stronger. As he continued to get stronger, Heaven's retribution seemed to know that Yi Shiwen was about to have a breakthrough. There were more heavenly lightning troops besieging Yi Shiwen to prevent Yi Shiwen from having a breakthrough. With only scattered resistance of the army left, the pressure from heavenly lightning troops fully extended on Yi Shiwen. Even with the strength of Yi Ziwen's body at this time, he was still bombarded repeatedly with cracking skin revealing flesh, blood splattering, and bones snapping. It was very gruesome. However, he stood up again and again. He was only left with martial art consciousness. The main consciousness was realizing the heaven way and could not be extracted at all. However, he was also accustomed to such multitasking. Even his star beast avatar was still constantly realizing and breaking through in order to have a breakthrough to the half-step transcendent realm. There was not much difference for him, but every time he fell down and stood up again, his strength increased a little. The laws were condensed almost every minute and second. After some time, the frequency of Yi Shiwen being bombarded was getting less, and he was getting stronger. His Bodis aura fluctuated wildly and surged straight towards the skyline all of a sudden. It was like a shocking air column which soared to the sky. The aura in him seemed to have completed a huge transformation with a qualitative change. His originally scattered Great Sage Realm laws were completely condensed together as a whole now. Bang! Yi Zaiwen's fist was impactful, directly bombarding several heavenly lightning troops of the Great Sage Realm. The lightning energy poured into Yi Zaiwen's body like a torrent. This breakthrough seemed like the last straw that broke a camel's back. One. Boom! His aura had a breakthrough and surpassed the peak. That was the horrifying aura of a Great Sage Realm, overwhelming the whole world. It's over, it's over. Looking at Yi Zaiwen's continuous breakthrough, the Great Sage Peak Realm Master could not help but be ashen-faced. He didn't expect that it would end like this in the end. He thought it was a very simple thing in the beginning. He only had to wipe out a fortified point of the true martial school. But he didn't expect that not only was the whole army exterminated, he even had to die as well in the end. It was not that he was so noble that he didn't run away, but that he couldn't escape at all. He was slowed down by the heavenly lightning troops, so he couldn't run away. He had no choice but to watch as Yi Shiwen had a breakthrough to Great Sage Realm. He also had a breakthrough once, so he naturally knew what Yi Shiwen was doing now. Yi Shiwen was already so scary previously, not to mention now. Yi Shiwen opened his eyes, and his aura swept out in circular forms like waves. He finally had a breakthrough into the Great Sage Realm. 1. An idiom describes the seemingly minor action that causes an unpredictably large and sudden reaction because of the cumulative effect of small actions previously. Chapter 724. Chapter 724. Entering the peak, breaking into the Great Sage Realm, was a profound process for him. When all 9,999 Sage Realm laws were transformed into Great Sage Realm laws and condensed into the 10,000th Great Sage Realm law, he naturally crossed into the Great Sage Realm. For others, it might take more close cultivation time before they could cross. After all, they still needed to complete the spirit transformation, but for Shiwen, this step was largely omitted. The transformation into the Great Sage Realm was completed naturally. Truly stepping into the Great Sage Realm, Yi Shiwen suddenly felt an intense difference from the half-step Great Sage Realm. He simply felt as if the world had become much clearer. It was different from when he first entered the Sage Realm. When he first entered the Sage Realm, he only felt that his body had become a mini-universe that became more and more perfect. It was mainly perfection of the body, but now this was a true transformation of the spirit. Generally speaking, the stronger the spirit, the easier it was to perceive the heaven way. When he entered the Great Sage, the difficulty of perceiving the existence of the heaven way reduced a lot, or in other words, he could perceive more heaven way at once. It felt like the shackles that imprisoned him in the past had been broken at once. All of a sudden, he felt that he could see the world for what it was. The most important thing was that the improvement in strength was by leaps and bounds. Compared with the previous half-step Great Sage, it was not on the same level. At this time, he finally understood why the Great Sage was said to be the real tyranny, and also the second huge hurdle on the road of martial arts. Once you cross it, there would be a tremendous change. Yi Shiwen clenched his fist. It was another Shattered Star Fist. Compared with just now, the power of Shattered Star Fist now was increased by a whole level. Wherever the punch reached, countless heavenly lightning troops barely had time to let out a groan before they were crushed to pieces. How could this be? The gods are so unfair. The Great Sage Realm Peak Master wailed. This monster was actually allowed to achieve a breakthrough into the Great Sage Realm. A Tau Legion was wiped in his hands. What a brutal person he was. However, suddenly, he quickly noticed that the Great Safe Realm, heavenly lightning troops that surrounded him before had now retreated one by one, disappearing between the clouds and the sky. He suddenly understood that this was because their existence was dependent on Yi Zaiwen's Great Sage Retribution. Now that Yi Shiwen had successfully entered the Great Sage Realm, the Great Sage Retribution was naturally about to end, and these heavenly lightning troops were about to retreat. However, to his surprise, Yi Shiwen actually made a shocking move. He actually chased heaven's retribution directly into the clouds. Although heaven's retribution was almost finished, he was still dissatisfied and wanted to chase it into the clouds, not letting it go. Not only was he dumbfounded, many of the true martial school disciples below were also dumbfounded. They finally saw the heavens' retribution retreat. The mighty heavens might also disappearing soon, but they soon saw a scene that was even more astonishing. Yi Shiwen actually dared to chase heaven's retribution. What was heaven's retribution? It was a test and a calamity given by the gods, representing the majesty of the gods. As creatures beneath the gods, all were extremely afraid of them. Even the most ferocious, evil person was no exception. Now that the heaven's retribution had retreated, Yi Shiwen should have been relieved, but now he actually dared to chase the heaven's retribution. They were all dumbfounded. Yi Shiwen directly chased heaven's retribution into the clouds. If this was before his breakthrough, he would not have dared to do so, but now his strength had increased greatly, so he got the courage to do so. Boom! 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 There were a series of explosions. With every explosion, a large group of heavenly lightning troops were smashed into pure energy by Yi Shiwen, and then absorbed by him. The heaven's retribution seemed to be angered by Yi Ziwen's lack of scruples. Suddenly, a large number of heavenly lightning troops turned around and charged toward Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen wasn't surprised and instead found it amusing. He immediately burst out laughing. He rushed forward toward the heavenly lightning troops. The heavenly lightning troops were blasted by him one by one, unable to cause any problems for Yi Shiwen, whose skills had improved by leaps and bounds into the great sage realm. On the contrary, Yi Shiwen was still borrowing the energy contained in these heavenly lightning troops' bodies to cultivate. After entering the great sage realm, there was no longer a realm barrier. The initial thick realm barrier did not exist anymore. As long as there was enough energy accumulated, he could even hit the peak of the great sage realm initial straightaway. Initially, it required polishing. It should be polished little by little, and it took time to polish. After reaching the great sage realm, every realm was important. This was laying the foundation. In fact, according to EMO, whether it was sage realm or great sage, they were all about laying the foundation. The sage realm was laying the foundation for the body, and great sage was laying the foundation for the spirit. Since it was laying the foundation, then its importance was conceivable. High-rise buildings were built from the ground, and the emphasis was on a solid foundation. It was a matter with grave importance. But does he have the time right now? He certainly did not. On the contrary, he must improve his strength as quickly as possible. The endless energy contained in this heaven's retribution was a big supplement for him. If it was another energy, he might still have concerns, but this heaven's retribution contained the utmost strength and utmost just energy. It was the purest. As long as he could absorb it, there was no fear of hidden dangers. Yi Shiwen strode forward in big steps, chasing and killing the heavenly lightning troops like a god. His face was expressionless. The flashing sparks lit up his face, making him look like a god. At this time, in the eyes of the remaining people on the battlefield, Yi Shiwen was no different from the gods in the skies. After another half hour, the tribulation clouds in the sky dissipated little by little. The heavenly lightning troops that had initially filled the sky were also completely massacred by Yi Shiwen and turned into energy, all of which were absorbed by Yi Shiwen. At this time, Yi Shiwen no longer had the jerkiness and tart proficiency when he first had a breakthrough into the great sage. On the contrary, he seemed more rounded. With this huge energy, it completely consolidated the realm of the great sage realm initial, pushing him directly to the peak. It was precisely him borrowing this heaven's retribution to push his cultivation all the way to the peak state. "Brother Yi, that scoundrel is running away." Suddenly, a loud shout came from below. He was pointing straight at the great sage realm peak master. It was none other than Miao Yu who spoke. Although many people were focusing on the battle between Yi Shiwen and heaven's retribution, some people's thoughts were on the great sage realm peak master. At this time, seeing that the heaven's retribution was directly scattered by Yi Shiwen, he immediately escaped. What about revenge? What about enmity? In the face of absolute tyrannical strength, it was just like a huge joke. At this time, wanting to take revenge was simply heading for death. At this time, the glory of any sect was not worth it. The notion of survival prevailed. Yi Shiwen sneered and said, "Where are you going?" Since he had said that everyone didn't get to leave, this person also had to. He took a step, and in a flash, he caught up with the great sage realm peak. He clenched his fists and turned into a big star, and smashed it straight down. "You demon, you will die painfully." The great sage realm peak master screamed. His body was smashed apart by Yi Xiwen's single punch. He screamed as he was smashed to death. He was still very unsatisfied even before he died. He never thought that an entire army would one day be wiped out directly by one person. Although most of it was done by the heavenly lightning troops, it was undeniable that they were completely eradicated all because of Yi Shiwen. The retribution clouds in the sky dispersed little by little. The mighty heavens might also vanish little by little as if it had never existed. Yi Shiwen fell from the sky. These true martial school disciples looked at Yi Shiwen in awe. Previously, Yi Shiwen was already so scary before advancing into the great sage, let alone now. Also, the most important thing was that they all saw Yi Xiwen's retribution in person. The horrifying scene had various anomalies. If it were them instead, they would probably already be killed by the disaster. No, they were simply not qualified to elicit such a frightening disaster. A real great sage realm peak master suffered a big loss in Yi Xiwen's hands, killed directly by Yi Xiwen's punch. They couldn't help but pay attention to such a terrifying person. Okay, I probably don't need to say the specifics. You probably also know that Emergent School has invaded, said Yi Shiwen in a calm tone. Looking at the remaining disciples of true martial school, their faces still had a bit of disbelief. Although it had been said many times that Emergent School might invade, when the actual day came, there was no warning sign of it at all. It could be said that they were all prepared, but they were still caught off guard again. In the past few years, everyone in true martial school had been saying Emergent School would invade. However, it was all just talk, and there were no related indications at all. Hence, the sudden attack of Emergent School really caught them off guard and almost blindsided them. If it weren't for Yi Xiwen's assistance this time, they might have all been wiped out right here. They all looked at Yi Shiwen in unison. At this time, in the absence of other senior management, Yi Shiwen, who had just exhibited godly power, was their backbone. In this chaotic situation, they could only survive by following strong men like Yi Shiwen. You don't have to look at me. I still have a matter to take care of. You all go back to true martial school first. Be careful on the way back. Yi Shiwen said that he had no intention to return to true martial school now, because he still couldn't help but worry about his relatives in Yuan sect. Chapter 725. Chapter 725. Horrifying master from Southern Dipper Yi Shiwen was now most worried about the relatives in Yuan sect. The Emergent School's sudden invasion not only blindsided others, but also caught Yi Shiwen by surprise. During this time, he just wanted to increase his strength before the Emergent School invades. At first, he wanted to evacuate his relatives in Yuan sect after he was all prepared. Man proposes, but God disposes. Before he managed to wait until he was fully prepared, the Emergent School had launched their sudden assault. Now he must go back and have a look. As for Star Beast Avatar, it was still trying to break through the half-step transcendent realm, and it was at the most critical step. After thinking about it, he decided to go back to the Great Yu Empire first and evacuate his parents to a safe place. As for the Star Beast Avatar, its strength was much stronger than that of his. Naturally, there was no problem. Thinking of this, he spread his golden wings and flapped instantly. He channeled his storm power and flew out. He was somewhat fast, especially after he broke through the Great Sage realm. In all respects, the most obvious improvement apart from physical strength was speed. In an instant, He flew out of the extraterrestrial battlefield and flew towards true martial domain, but he did not rush in the direction of the true martial school. Over there might have become a huge Azura battlefield. Emergent School only launched an ad hoc assault on the extraterrestrial battlefield. However, the true martial school was now inevitably under siege by the Great Army. Although Yi Shiwen did not fly in the direction of true martial school, when he flew into the true martial domain, he still saw the vast aura in the direction of the true martial domain. This terrifying aura was huge, reaching to the skies as the world changed color. It was like a huge storm, and no one knew how many terrifying masters were hidden in it. Yi Shiwen could not help but change his expression when he saw this scene. It was hard to imagine that the background of Emergent School was really so dreadful. From afar, the splendid magical bursts of the collision between top experts could be seen. Although splendid, they were unusually terrifying. In such a war, I am afraid that my cultivation skill is no more than cannon fodder. Yi Shiwen could not help but say that in the midst of the collision of such huge behemoths, perhaps only the strongest in the transcendent realm could freely move around. And for those really strong people, you are still quite inferior to them in a great margin. You have just built the foundation. Even the transcendent realm is nothing. Yimo had always been very loud. He who followed the legendary Demon King was undaunted by these masters. Yi Shiwen only stopped for a while. Yi Shiwen was worried about his loved ones. He did not waste any more time and went straight to the direction of the Great Yu Empire. Meanwhile, in the sealed site of the underground, Yi Zaiwen's Star Beast avatar sat in front of the barrier, constantly performing magic spells, absorbing the blood and vital energy of this Star Beast, enriching itself. Compared to the great sage realm that this person wanted to break through, the Star Beast avatar needed more blood and vital energy to break through to half-step transcendent realm. The transcendent realm was another brand new level. The name Transcendent was the hope of supreme martial arts practitioners and the hope of countless people. Transcendent, unstained, transcending beyond matter. Although the transcendent realm was not exactly transcendent, it was the first step of transcendent. This was a brand new realm, and the energy he needed to accumulate was almost more than the energy he had accumulated since he began to practice martial arts. If it was an ordinary creature whose blood and vital energy was so frenziedly absorbed by him, it would probably be sucked in a dried meat. He could only absorb it so relentlessly through using the top creature at the top of the food chain, such as the Star Beast. Repulsive, vile, damn human, I will not spare you. The Star Beast still roared and bellowed. Although a lot of its blood and vital energy was extracted by Yi Shiwen, it was nothing for the extremely powerful Star Beast, or that there was no major impact at all. The angrier it became, the louder it roared. The tighter the chain of law on its body became, more essential blood and energy were removed to supplement the barrier. It's really an amazing barrier. It must really be arranged by a barrier master. Suddenly, behind Yi Shiwen came a cold, contemptuous voice. This is the legendary giant Star Beast that feeds on the universe? It's not easy now to see this kind of fierce beast. Who is it? Yi Shiwen screamed, and the endless chi on his palms instantly condensed, turned into a palm knife, and struck backward. A dozen sword chi was suddenly formed and cut through the air. He suddenly looked back and saw a man in a black cloak. He could not see the face clearly, but he could feel a weird hint of ridicule on his face. The dozens of long swords chi swayed by Yi Shiwen split the vast sky instantly. The weirdest thing was that it actually penetrated through his body. Spatial ability. His eyes suddenly flashed. This was the second time he saw this spatial ability. The last time he saw it was from Emperor Chen. The battle left a deep impression on him. Emperor Chen's spatial ability gave him great trouble. People with spatial ability were almost inherently invincible. Apart from the legendary time controller, people with spatial ability were the most terrifying. He defeated Emperor Chen previously because his speed was much faster than Emperor Chen. For ordinary people, it was impossible to defeat Emperor Chun, who had the spatial ability, although in the end he efficiently defeated Emperor Chun. However, the strength of the spatial ability was firmly remembered in his mind, and he dared not underestimate it at all. Any such masters could shock countless people. At that time, Emperor Chun had only grasped some superficial knowledge of spatial ability. The person in front of him made the Star Beast avatar, who was now in the realm of Great Sage Realm, Great Perfection, felt terrified. Not only that the long sword chi did not cause any harm to him, but on the contrary, the man in black robe moved and grabbed Yi Shiwen. He dodged Yi Zaiwen's wielding sword chi and caught Yi Zaiwen's body. This is spatial ability. Yi Shiwen stomped beneath his feet. Immediately, his figure surged backward to avoid the grasp of this big swipe. In his last fight with Emperor Chun, Yi Shiwen was not completely clueless about these spatial ability users. He was hiding his physical body in the subspace. It appeared to be in front of Yi Shiwen, but it was not. So his hand could directly pass through Yi Zaiwen's sword chi and thrust it towards Yi Shiwen. So, this kind of spatial ability was the most difficult to deal with. I didn't expect you to have some insight, little brat of true martial school. The black robe smiled faintly and did not take the failed attack to heart, or that he did not show any esteem for this Yi Shiwen of the Great Sage Realm, Great Perfection, who was in front of him at all. To him, Yi Shiwen was only a warrior who could be slaughtered at any time, nothing to be bothered about. Southern Dipper. Yi Zaiwen's jaw dropped widely and came up with these two words. The dress of the black-robed man in front of him could not be more familiar. It was the dress of the members of Southern Dipper, who was the Big Dipper's rival for many years. Although he had not had many encounters with Southern Dipper members, he knew a lot about them. After all, they were opponents of Big Dipper for many years. It was impossible not to know. He just did not expect to meet someone from Southern Dipper here. Why did the master of Southern Dipper appear here? Yi Zaiwen's heartbeat became nervous in all of an instant. If it was just the ordinary Southern Dipper constellations, or even the constellation's lord, he did not worry much. He was confident that he could deal with it. Even if it was him, he was confident in forcing it to retreat, let alone this Star Beast avatar. However, obviously this person was far above the constellation's lord level that he knew about. This was a terrifying power that transcended the Great Sage level. Suddenly, the man in black robe in front of him disappeared. The next moment, he appeared behind Yi Shiwen. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed towards Yi Zaiwen's neck. This was to cut off his neck directly, which was terrifying. This was not how fast he was, because he penetrated the space directly and came behind Yi Shiwen, which Yi Shiwen was simply defenseless against. This was one of the most terrifying skills of the spatial ability, but this was only one of them. Spatial ability was so rare for so many years, but was still famous. It was built on the powerful combat capabilities of those with spatial ability. However, despite his agility, Yi Zaiwen's speed was faster. In an instant, at the moment of imminent death, Yi Shiwen turned into a golden light and disappeared into the sky. In the next second, he appeared in the mid-air and stared coldly at the man in black robe in front of him. Both of their speeds were approaching their limits. This was like a beam of light, which disappeared in an instant, but both sides were completely different in their speed. The speed of the man in black robe was based on walking in space. In the sublayer space, the spatial distance might become longer or might become extremely short. So, his speed was incomparable. However, Yi Shiwen was pure speed. His physical body had exceeded his limit, tearing the vast sky. This was the purest speed. It looked very fast. In fact, it was completely different. That's fast. The tone of this black-robed man finally changed to being a little shocked. If Yi Zaiwen's reaction was fast, then now this was enough to prove how fast Yi Shiwen himself was. He had hardly seen anyone who could achieve this level with pure speed. Chapter 726. Chapter 726. Southern Dipper's motive, it's really interesting. I didn't expect that there would be such interesting people like you in true martial school. You even know that we are Southern Dipper, the black-robed man said with a sneer. His voice actually became even more cold. It seems that true martial school really values this star beast. They still sent such a master to guard it in this situation. Yi Zaiwen's heart suddenly tightened. It was not the first time Yi Shiwen heard that this man mentioned the star beast, which meant that the other party knew about the star beast. Yi Shiwen did not reveal his identity of Big Dipper. Judging from the other party's tone, he didn't seem to be targeting Yi Shiwen. Then, there was only one possibility, which was the star beast. Although it seemed irrational, it didn't mean that it was really impossible. Although the star beast matter was a secret, ancient and huge organizations such as Big Dipper and Southern Dipper that had existed for countless years might know about it. The star beast invasion of the true martial domain was a buzz at that time. It led to the decline of true martial school directly. This matter had passed for many years, so many people might have forgotten it. Even the true martial school masters might have forgotten the past. Many masters did not know why it led to the decline of true martial school as well. They only knew that a great battle in the past caused many senior predecessors to fall, which directly led to such an event. But it did not mean that no one else knew about it. The existence of the two organizations, Big Dipper and Southern Dipper, was far beyond everyone's imagination. They definitely existed before the Star Beast invaded true martial school, and they were very huge. Therefore, it was not surprising that the Southern Dipper people knew about the Star Beast's existence. Although Yi Shiwen did not know why they came for the Star Beast, he was now certain that this mighty master was definitely here for the Star Beast. "What is your motive?" Yi Shiwen asked in a cold voice while frowning slightly, but his muscles were completely tense. The endless qi on his body condensed abruptly, preparing to fight at any time. This person in front of him was too scary. Yi Shiwen felt a long-lost danger vibe in this person. This was more like a beast's intuition, the beast intuition from Yi Zaiwen's Star Beast avatar. It was almost like the feeling that a sword would slash his head at any time, making him feel extremely dangerous at all times. "My motive is very simple. This Star Beast has been locked long enough. It should be released to breathe some fresh air, right?" The black-robed man said with a smile. "What?" Yi Shiwen was shocked suddenly. His motive is to release this terrifying beast. Yi Shiwen could imagine how terrifying it would be if the beast was released. Perhaps even true martial domain would be completely destroyed. This star beast had been sealed for countless years, so it had lost its horrifying strength. It could be said that it had weakened a lot, but the same was true for the true martial domain. It no longer had as many masters as the past when true martial domain was under the command of true martial school. At that time, even the transcendent realm masters were not a rare sight, or it was absolutely not a rare sight as it was now. If this beast was released now, it would really be a massive disaster. "Huh? You really are a smart man. Release me, and I will devour this damn true martial domain. I can pass you the power and let you have a breakthrough to the transcendent realm without any problem. If I'm not mistaken, you are still in half-step transcendent initial realm." Yi Shiwen was very shocked to hear such a conversation, but the star beast in the barrier was excited and roaring continuously because it could leave this damn place finally. Yi Zaiwen's appearance previously gave it hope, but then Yi Zaiwen's words completely ruined its hope. It knew that it could not rely on Yi Shiwen to get out. It already gave up originally. It could only watch Yi Shiwen break through continuously with its blood and vital energy. But it didn't expect that things had taken a new turn now. Another person actually appeared now, which gave it hope to go out. It couldn't care so many things now, and listed all kinds of rewards and wishes. Although it often only acted by its own capabilities, it definitely did not mean that it could not understand human relationships. It was just that it didn't even bother to use any means of beating around the bush when it had absolute strength. But it had no choice at this time, because this black-robed man was its only hope. Half-step transcendent realm. Yi Zaiwen's eye pupil shrunk slightly. Sure enough, this black-robed man was far more terrifying than he thought. The black-robed man just attacked twice, but Yi Shiwen was forced to evade with all his strength. This was not a strength that a great sage could possess at all. Yi Zaiwen's strength was already very powerful. It was enough to defeat Mu Xingjie a few years ago. In the recent years, Yi Shiwen had not been idle at all. constantly absorbing the blood and vital energy of this star beast. Although he still did not step into the half-step transcendent realm, it was just a matter of time. The current Yi Shiwen had enough strength to wipe out the entire Great Sage realm. Even a typical Great Sage, Great Perfection realm wouldn't be his opponent. Even if the Mu Xingjie from a few years ago were to fight with him now, Yi Shiwen wouldn't even need that long time to defeat Mu Xingjie completely. There was no need to use special techniques or anything like that at all. But when he was facing this black-robed man, he had an instinctive sense of urgency. It was as if a sharp blade could cut off his head at any time. Don't you know what it means to release this beast? It may destroy the entire starry sky and world, scolded Yi Shiwen. How many lives would be suffering? Can Southern Dipper bear such karma? Everyone knew the dangers of the star beast. It fed on the stars and the world. Every time it devoured the world or the stars, there would be countless casualties. Many lives would be in danger. If Southern Dipper released such a monster, even an influential organization like Southern Dipper, which had existed for countless years, would be torn to pieces when facing everyone's raging fire. No one could face such raging fire. He would be a public enemy. The public's will was God's will. Who could go against God's will? It was simply impossible. Many lives would be in danger. Ha ha ha! What does that have to do with me? What do I have to do with you, humans, dying collectively? You humans are like bugs in the sewers. The more they multiply, the more they die. Only some would die anyway. Why is it worth fussing about? The man in black robe said lightly, but what he said sent shivers down Yi Ziwen's spine. Yi Shiwen was extremely shocked. If all are dead, then this world will be serene. It's for a serene world. Could it be that this black-robed man in front of me is not a human being? Is he from the Beast clan or Demon clan? What other clans are they? A variety of clans with wisdom flashed through Yi Shiwen. In this world, there was not only the human race with wisdom, just that this piece of starry sky was led by the human race. In fact, before the human race became the leader of this starry sky, this place was originally ruled by the native clan. As a matter of fact, the human race was the latecomer, but the native clan had long disappeared after some time. Only rumors of the birth of the native clan were heard occasionally, but they were just rumors. Very few people had really seen the native clan. In addition to the native clan, there were also the legendary Beast clan and Demon clan. They were all well-known clans. Even in the starry sky, under the leadership of human beings, their names were still existing. Which clan does this black-robed man actually belong to? Listening to his tone, he seems to have extraordinary hatred for human beings and wish that all human beings would die. I love this the most. Just leave it to me. I will help you destroy this damn world and devour all the damn humans. They even dare to imprison me for countless years here. They are really tired of living, the Star Beast said, adding fuel to the fire. Let you go? Of course there is no problem, the black-robed man said with a sneer. I will only let you out if you become my slave and sign the master-slave contract. What? Damn. Who do you think I am? How dare you force me to sign a master-slave contract? Star Beast suddenly roared thunderously. This was utter humiliation for him. I'm going to tear you to pieces. The so-called Southern Dipper can die too. Go and die. I must kill you all? Once the master-slave contract was signed, then it would become the slave of the black-robed man in front of it. The black-robed man could order it around. This was simply impossible for it. The black-robed man in front of it was just a half-step transcendent realm. During the Star Beast's peak period, he was just an ant who was not worth looking at all. This ant actually wanted to recruit him as a slave now. It was simply too deceiving, even more terrible than the previous Yi Shiwen. AI, your power is too scary. If I let you out, I have no confidence to tame you. It is better to sign the master-slave contract first before talking, the black-robed man said with an evil smile. He didn't seem to bother about the furious Star Beast threat. What's the point? Even if you are not willing to, it's just a little extra effort. It was nothing at all. Chapter 727. Chapter 727. Terrifying spatial ability, however, we still have to deal with this interesting brat now. The black-robed man turned his eyes to Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen could feel the horrifying, killing intent of this black-robed man in front of him. It was just like being stared at by an ancient, vicious beast, giving him the urge to flee. If it was in another place, Yi Shiwen at this time might have already turned around and fled. It was definitely not a wise idea to face a half-step transcendent master. Worse still, he was not a general warrior, but a master having control of space law. It was common knowledge that the most unpredictable among the many laws existed besides time would be space. Space law was something even a great sage realm master had no way to get hold of. Among the masters at the same level, the masters who understood the space law were almost invincible. Spatial travel was a piece of cake to them. There was no way to defeat someone like that. To identify someone with space law talent in addition to being capable of utilizing space law at a very low level. The odds were only one such person among tens of billions of people. But now Yi Zaiwen's feet seemed to be taking root. Did he have the option to flee? For sure he didn't. If he dared to flee, then the black-robed man in front of him would definitely take control of the Star Beast. Although he didn't know what method the black-robed man would use to control this terrifying Star Beast. But Yi Shiwen felt the black-robed man had great self-confidence in his words. Yi Shiwen was worried that this might become the reality. If the Star Beast was still in full peak state and not being held in the barrier, then this black-robed man would not dare to appear in front of this Star Beast. But the problem now was that this Star Beast was suppressed in the barrier. Not only its strength was greatly reduced, but it was restrained. Hence, the success rate of the black-robed man was quite high. Although Yi Shiwen did not know what the black-robed would do to make this Star Beast a slave of his. It was entirely conceivable that if Yi Shiwen really left, then allowing him to control the Star Beast would really destroy the entire true martial domain. This was not impossible, but very possible. By that time, not only the true martial domain would suffer, but the entire starry sky would be painted with death. From the black-robed man's words, Yi Shiwen was certain that the black-robed man was not a human being. His hatred for humanity was deeply rooted. And the most important thing was that Yi Shiwen could feel that the surrounding space was locked by his opponent. There was no way to flee at all unless he could defeat the black-robed man first. Yi Shiwen breathed out calmly with his gaze turning cold as he stared at this opponent. This battle was inevitable. There seemed to be no chance of winning at all. Half-step transcendent. Even though it was only half-step transcendent, it was already considered approaching the realm. There was a qualitative gap with Great Sage. Even his Star Beast avatar could not cross this gap. The gap between the Great Sage realm and half-step transcendent realm was indeed enormous. Even if there weren't a lot of half-step transcendent realm masters in true martial school, the number count was only slightly more than transcendent realm masters. If it was someone else, they stood no chance in this situation, but it might not translate similarly to Yi Shiwen. During this time, his original body had made a great breakthrough, while the Star Beast avatar was not left aside idle. All these while, he constantly absorbed the blood and vital energy of the adult Star Beast. He had also approached the point of breakthrough. If there was no sudden invasion of Emergent School, he would only need a few more months to step into the half-step transcendent realm. Although it seemed to be a long time, the duration of a few months was not a big deal as compared with the difficulty of entering the half-step transcendent realm. He was really close to attain the half-step transcendent realm, so he might have the power to fight for a while. If he could take this opportunity to break into the half-step transcendent realm, he still had a chance in this battle. Of course, the most important point was that this was not his main body. Even if it was defeated, the loss was still within acceptable range. It would not be totally destroyed, so it worth the risk. Yi Zaiwen's eyes flashed, glaring in determination with a hint of profoundness that was only born when the universe was put to death. Yi Shiwen made his move. He ran the scripture directly and condensed a rippling mountain seal equipped with endless waves from mountains. Then, he shot all of it to the black-robed man. Boom! The huge mountain range formed by the condensed rippling mountain seal had instantly crushed on the black-robed man. The firing speed of Yi Shiwen in the Great Sage Great Perfection realm was unimaginably fast. The speed could almost pull off after images. Boom! The huge mountain waves fell on the black-robed man. But it only appeared as though the offense only hit on a water surface. After the layers of ripples appeared, the mountain waves disappeared. Yi Zaiwen's pupils shrank all of a sudden. His already grave expression was wringing out sweats. Although he had also already cultivated the inverting the ocean seal, it did not mean that the power of the rippling mountain seal was not great. On the contrary, among the 3 types of overturning the heaven seal, the 3 seals represented 3 levels and 3 distinct ways of power. Overturning the heaven seal represented rigidity, composed of the power of the utmost strength and utmost just energy in the world. A technique that focused on direct confrontation where all trickeries would not prevail in the face of it. On the contrary, inverting the ocean seal's power was supreme in being supple, while the overturning the heaven seal was rigid and supple at the same time. Fierce power was mixed and aside from being supple. However, in the process of switching between rigid power and supple power, it was difficult to really say which one was stronger. What was really difficult was transforming from the power of the utmost strength and utmost just energy into supple power that only existed after exerting explosive strength. Even Mu Xingjie suffered a loss from that rippling mountain seal, which represented the power of the utmost strength and utmost just energy in Yi Zaiwen's current strength. However, this black-robed easily dealt with it by sending it to unique dimension. It was conceivable how terrifying a person with spatial ability was. Although the original Emperor Chen also had this ability, speaking of which was just a grasp of some fur, but it could be used to avoid, like this man in black robe is ordinary, and his understatement will turn his attack into invisible, which Mu Xingjie can't do at present. In this way, it means that Yi Zaiwen's attack would not be able to hit him. This was the most terrifying fact. This seal is quite interesting, but this attack alone can't hurt me. The black-robed man chuckled with his eyes flushed, gleaming more and more red as time passed. He took a step out and appeared behind Yi Shiwen in the next second. He reached out his hand with visible vibration waves in the air that resonated a strange frequency. But it was indeed this vibration which led the space behind Yi Shiwen to be completely broken apart. The broken space formed a huge and long space blade, slashing towards Yi Shiwen. Sweeping flying fish divine technique. But he saw that the man in black robe finally chanted a simple and inscrutable mantra as if he was putting on some ancient martial arts moves. Voila! The long blade of space struck Yi Zaiwen's body instantly, as if it wanted to slash him into half on the spot. At the very moment when he was going to slash Yi Shiwen into half, he directly stuck through a group of golden lights with Yi Zaiwen's figure disappearing directly. When Yi Shiwen appeared again, Yi Shiwen was already hundreds of feet away. This barrier was not that big, and the space that Yi Shiwen allowed to move was limited. Since the barrier was set up by the Transcendent Realm Powerhouse, so there was no worry about it being shattered. Although this black-robed man was powerful, he was only a half-step transcendent initial. He would not be able to contend against Supreme Schoolmaster Yi Shiwen, had a lingering fear. Although he was already prepared for such speed, he still found that he still underestimated the speed of the opponent in the actual battle. Perhaps the half-step transcendent initial's absolute speed was not as good as his own. However, with unique dimension, there were wormholes that could connect places thousands of miles apart. In fact, there were many such wormholes in the unique dimension. This black-robed man only needed to use these wormholes to easily obtain speeds beyond ordinary people's imagination. The uphill battle continued. Bang! Yi Shiwen only felt that a terrifying force behind him swept down and pressed directly on him. He didn't have a chance to respond, and that force had already hit him. Boom! Yi Shiwen, like a falling meteor, blasted directly onto the floor, forming a huge, deep pit. The deep pit was full of smoke. Poof! Yi Shiwen rolled over and spurted blood out with surprise in his eyes. The man in black robe stood where he was just now and made another move on him directly. He was again blasted away before he could respond, and the opponent started to go all out without holding back. If it was not Phoenix regeneration technique and Tyrant Body protecting himself at the critical time, he should be long dead already. What a terrifying ability, with no ways to guard against it. Yi Zaiwen's fear of this spatial ability was taken to the next level. He would most likely meet with more people with spatial ability in the future. If everyone was as scary as that, then it would be troublesome. At the same time, Yi Shiwen also took advantage of this precious short time to constantly use Phoenix regeneration technique to repair his injuries. You didn't die. The man in black robe was also surprised. He struck Yi Shiwen with all his strength, but Yi Shiwen didn't die. Although Yi Shiwen was seriously injured, Yi Shiwen didn't die. Chapter 728. Chapter 728. Depressed black-robed man, it indeed surprised him a little. He was very clear about his strength. The strength of the half-step transcendent initial was enough to rank among the top masters. If masters of transcendent realm did not appear, he would be the top master on the spot. Just now, he delivered a full blow with no reservation at all. After being hit by this blow, never mind a normal great sage, even the half-step transcendent realm masters like him would be either dead or seriously injured. Of course, the master at that level would not be so easily hit by him. Since his realm firmly dominated Yi Zaiwen's realm, he felt comfortable launching an all-out attack. However, if the opponent was in the same realm, there would not be much chance to launch this attack without any disruption. Although those with spatial ability were said to be invincible in the same realm, it might not be an absolute fact. Some monstrous characters could even suppress masters with spatial ability. In a battle with the same realm, he couldn't have enough time to charge for a full-out attack. Even in many cases, he had to rush his move sets. So he knew very well how terrifying his blow was. At this moment, he noticed Yi Shiwen not dying. Rather, he could still sense Yi Zaiwen's vitality that was constantly recovering. Although there were some doubts about how Yi Shiwen did it, he still decided to kill Yi Shiwen as early as possible to be at ease. At this time, he could only feel at ease by completing the master-slave contract as soon as possible and releasing this star beast. The barriers here were all arranged by the supreme schoolmaster of true martial school. If there was a battle here, how could it not sense anything? If it was not because of the invasion of Emergent School, it would have already attracted a large number of masters from true martial school to intercept the opponent. So although Southern Dipper knew that Star Beast existed, they didn't dare to make a move previously. No matter how strong Southern Dipper's strength was, only a singular unit was deployed. The black-robed man had no way to cope with a true martial school's tyranny. Especially in terms of Transcendent Realm Master, there were more than 10 of them in true martial schools. In the eyes of the Transcendent Realm Masters, the black-robed man was no different from ordinary little sidekicks. Killing him was just a piece of cake. He thought that the entire process was much easier than killing Yi Shiwen. Hence, the black-robed man didn't really want to take the risks. Although he felt that the Emergent School should be able to restrain true martial school, there was no guarantee that no Transcendent Realm Masters would cross the void and come here. By that time, only death awaited him. So no matter what, the black-robed man must go all out and end the fight speedily. Despite the contemplation, it didn't slow him down in any slight. He dashed out and appeared in front of Yi Shiwen again. For him, crossing any distance in space had no resistance at all. He appeared directly in front of Yi Shiwen. A ripple was created. He directly activated another sweeping flying fish divine technique and launched an attack towards Yi Shiwen. His pale palm burst with an unimaginable strange ray. If one were to look closely, the ray was not purely made out of light, but a series of strange text. It was a remarkable ancient ability, something that didn't belong to the human clan. Sweeping flying fish divine technique fell down towards Yi Shiwen from the sky, causing a strange wave of interference in the space. The space seemed to be cracked by something, torn in all directions. As the crack grew larger, the more destructive it was. The black-robed intended to completely eliminate Yi Shiwen in the chaos of space. Yi Shiwen yelled out loud. A pair of storm wings attached at his back fluttered quickly, enabling him to evade this attack in a swoosh. Before he could establish his footing, the storm wings behind him fanned again. With storm power channeled into his body, he stormed out in another direction. At the moment when he fled, the black-robed man had already arrived in pursuit. The previous space Yi Shiwen was standing on just now was shattered with space debris scattered around. The black-robed man pursued fiercely. It was a fierce battle in the barrier. Both of their speeds were extremely fast. At one moment, they both appeared at one spot. In the blink of an eye, they had transversed quite a distance. Having both of them engaged in a fierce chase battle was simply unimaginable. On one side was just a great sage, while the other side was a half-step transcendent realm. This battle was not equally matched at all. In the eyes of the world, a half-step transcendent realm was much more tyrannical than a great sage. Even in the realm of great sage realm great perfection, it did not make much difference. This was the same as half-step great sage's overwhelming advantage over sage realm. But now Yi Shiwen could escape the black-robed man's pursuit many times. If it was seen by an outsider, they would drop their jaws widely due to the sharp contrast in expectation. But for the two sides in the battle, they were both equally depressed. For the black-robed man, he was a half-step transcendent realm master, but he couldn't catch up with a great sage. Not to mention that he also possessed spatial ability. That was simply a disgrace for him. With all of that, he still failed to catch up. It was tantamount to a great irony for him. As a matter of fact, warriors with spatial ability were often extremely superior in body movement technique. No matter the body movement technique, it was still traversing through space. Hence, people with spatial ability would have the absolute advantage that no one could challenge. But even so, he still couldn't catch up with Yi Ziwen's speed, which made him curious about Yi Ziwen's movement technique. What kind of movement technique that even his spatial ability didn't allow him to catch up? He could completely imagine that if he was not a spatial ability user and not a realm higher than Yi Shiwen, then he would be long left behind at this time. It would be impossible to catch up with his speed. Thinking of this, he suddenly had a greedy idea on Yi Ziwen's movement technique. He now had a spatial ability and already inherited a movement technique. In that precognition, his speed was already extremely fast. If he managed to obtain Yi Ziwen's movement technique, it was tantamount to adding wings to the tiger's one. In his case, if he were to get pursued by transcendent realm masters, he would not fall into disadvantage. Thus, he was determined to seize Yi Shiwen and draw out his soul. With that, he could learn any secret with just a glance. In addition to that, Yi Ziwen's powerful physical body and superb regeneration enticed him even more. It was all he wanted. He never thought his visit offered so many presents. Aside from having a star bee slave, he could even obtain these powerful skill inheritance. It was a fruitful adventure. Not only the black-robed man felt insulted and depressed, but Yi Shiwen felt depressed too. For him, speed was one of his strengths. Even though the black-robed man had spatial ability, Yi Shiwen was still slightly faster in terms of speed. If Yi Shiwen had the option to flee, Yi Shiwen merely needed to go in a straight line to shake off the black-robed man as time went by. This was all because of his superb speed. Also, he had been utilizing this means to escape a lot of pursuit from people stronger than him. But now he couldn't escape. If Yi Shiwen fled at this very moment, the star beasts in the barrier became his opponent's slave. In this case, for true martial domain, it would be a monstrous disaster. Moreover, the arrays were arranged by the Supreme Court to form a channel, which was originally designed to give them easy access to the restricted area. However, it encaged Yi Shiwen at this moment. There was not much space for maneuver, rendering him unable to escape from black-robed man's vision. In terms of absolute speed, Yi Shiwen was definitely faster than the black-robed man. He still had demon wings that was more powerful. It was worthy to be called the Demon King's movement technique. It might sound average, but it was remarkable. Yi Ziwen's speed allowed him to rush from one end of the barrier channel to the other in just a split moment. Hence, Yi Shiwen held off a bit and did not fully extend his speed. Once in a while, he was in danger of being caught up by the black-robed man. Yi Shiwen had almost no way to stay in one place. and was almost constantly fleeing. He really had no other way, but kept on fleeing. As long as he slacked a little, the black-robed man would hasten up his pursuit. A simple negligence would be death. Being bombarded by the black-robed man again, Yi Shiwen would not expect the black-robed man to give him enough time to recover from his injuries. Yi Shiwen could escape the pursuit only in the most peak state. With substantial damage, the pursuit would just happen, rendering an immediate death to him. The pursuit happened for more than an hour in the Celestial, but it did not end yet. The speed between the two parties could not completely surpass the other. The pursuit slowly transformed into a battle of endurance. Asterisk roar. Asterisk the black-robed man's beast-like roar echoed. It seemed like he was extremely annoyed because he hadn't been able to catch Yi Shiwen. He disregarded everything and went straight towards the barrier. He had already thought about it. He couldn't go on like this. Even with another 10,000 years past, he couldn't catch that Yi Shiwen. Is his speed fast? It is. That's almost a peak. He had never encountered a warrior faster than him among warriors in the same realm. Yi Shiwen was simply a freak. Yi Ziwen's realm was a tad bit lower than him, but the black-robed man definitely lost out in speed. The two sides did not incarnate any ultimate moves. Hence, not much consumption happened. Hence, the situation would not change even for another 10,000 years. The black-robed man simply disregarded Yi Shiwen and went straight to Star Beast. 1. Chinese idiom. It meant adding advantage to an existing advantage. Chapter 7:29. Chapter 7:29. The Star Beast compromised the black-robed man, simply ran directly toward the Star Beast. He was originally here for this Star Beast. It was a surprise event to encounter Yi Shiwen here. Although he was very depressed about his failure to catch Yi Shiwen, it was better than persisting in the pursuit. He came in front of the barrier, opened his hands as he read out some ancient and inconceivable chants. The eccentric syllables chanted turned into talisman texts in the air, and even penetrated the barrier. It flew to the sky above Star Beast and bombarded on the Star Beast as if they were meteorites. The talisman texts on the black-robed man's hand shone brightly, radiating the sky. It was so bright that the barrier couldn't even contain it, let alone the Star Beast. Asterisk roar. Asterisk the Star Beast's body trembled frantically. The painful roar shocked the ground. Certainly, the barrier sensed it. The original quaint talisman in the barrier suddenly radiated a strong light, suppressing this fanatical Star Beast. The Star Beast had no choice but to endure the attack of talisman words chanted by the black-robed man with no resistance. The existence of this barrier did not only extract the power of this Star Beast, but also suppress the Star Beast. The original setting was perfect, but now it had become a good helper for the Black Robe. No wonder this man in Black Robe Man was so confident that he was not intimidated by the Star Beast at all. He was very confident that he could tame this Star Beast in this manner. Yi Shiwen saw it clearly on how the black-robed man utilized his secret spatial ability to infuse the talisman text and syllables into the barrier. Otherwise, with his strength, it was impossible to overcome the barrier. As a matter of fact, the barrier not only suppressed the Star Beast internally, but was also very solid on the outside. Even a transcendent realm master couldn't break the barrier. After all, many senior masters of True Martial School teamed up to seal it, so the members of True Martial School were not worried about having no Transcendent Realm Master to protect the base. Even if a Transcendent Realm Master wanted to break this barrier, it would be challenging and take a lot of time. That would allow time for True Martial School to come in aid. So, they were very relieved, but they did not expect that there would be a strange black-robed man with a spatial ability who could come and enslave the Star Beast without disturbing the barrier. And the most important thing was that even if True Martial School noticed the changes here, it was useless because they were held back by the experts of Emergent School. The black-robed men definitely utilized the timing well. Yi Shiwen saw it clearly. A huge scroll gradually spread out gradually in front of the black-robed man. This was an indescribable feeling. It gave off a sense this was beyond the Great Sage tool. Yi Shiwen didn't know what was the specific level of that magic tool. At this time, Yimo was not around, but was with Tianyuan Mirror and the main body. Since the main body was far away from Star Beast Avatar, so Tianyuan Mirror and Yimo followed Yi Shiwen. After all, compared to Star Beast Avatar, his main body was more important. Yi Shiwen could withstand Star Beast Avatar being exploded, but absolutely could not accept the fall of this main body. Even though having the existence of Star Beast Avatar was like the second chance for the main body, it was not acceptable for Yi Shiwen to have his main body die in battle. After all, the strength of his main body was far less powerful than Star Beast Avatar. Hence, the main body needed the Tianyuan Mirror more. If Yimo was here now, he should be able to see at a glance what magic tools this was. The Avatar opened his magic sensing eyes and saw the spirit of Star Beast gotten absorbed by the scroll. Yi Shiwen didn't understand what the Master-Slave contract was, but he still knew that if part of the Star Beast spirit was sealed onto this scroll, it would become the black-robed man-slave. Roar! Roar! Roars! The Star Beast roared in pain, snarled in anger, and was also terrified at the same time. It could feel that the inexplicable talisman text penetrated into his body, and the scroll even wanted to suck its spirit out. Then, it would be sealed onto that scroll. The Star Beast had never felt so alerted previously. Even when it was sealed into the barrier before, he did not feel a sense of danger like this. After the war, a large number of true martial school masters died, and the rest of them had no ability to deal with him. They could only seal him like this. At that time, there was no such feeling of dying, but now there was such a feeling. Although it knew that even if that part of the spirit was sealed onto the scroll, it would not die. But this was even more uncomfortable than death. It would become the black-robed man-slave, which was even more uncomfortable than killing him. It was like one day a person becomes a slave of an ant. That was how it felt. This man in black-robed was just a half-step transcendent realm. If the Star Beast was in its peak period, it would not even put him into its heart at all. Not to mention the peak period, even if the current Star Beast, after countless years, now could pinch this black-robed man to death, if there was no barrier. Its hatred for this black-robed even surpassed that of Yi Shiwen previously. It was raging in flame. However, no matter how angry it was, it could not break free. There was not only the scroll sucking in its spirit, but also the barrier's repression of him. He couldn't even move, where even turning over would cause the barrier to be activated. So it could only feel that part of its spirit being extracted without being able to do anything. This feeling made its calm and brutal heart start to feel horrified. If its spirit was really drawn out, he really would become a slave to others, living under others' command. If it was a peerless master, it could still accept it. But it was just a man whom it did not put in his eye, a half-step transcendent realm who even dared to enslave him. No, I can't allow this to happen. Yi Shiwen didn't know what the black-robed man was going to do, but he knew this shouldn't go on. If the black-robed man was allowed to continue, the black-robed man would be able to enslave this Star Beast. By that time, true martial school would be in big trouble and meet its destruction. At this time, if Yi Shiwen wanted to escape, there was still enough time. Although the black-robed man imprisoned him in a barrier, he just needed time to break the barrier, and he would be able to escape. He didn't have the time to break the barrier due to the tight pursuit by the black-robed man just now. But there was enough time now. Could he escape? Certainly not. No way. Yi Shiwen needed to stop him. Yi Shiwen gritted his teeth. As he was about to do it, the Star Beast's roar came surging into his mind. It was a voice transmission, and he sent it directly to Yi Shiwen's mind with telepathy. Help me kill him. Help me kill him. Yi Shiwen was stunned. He didn't even think that the Star Beast had turned to him for help at this time. It seemed that the talisman had pushed it to the extreme. Otherwise, with the arrogance of this Star Beast, how could it ask for Yi Shiwen's help whom it kept looking down upon? Yi Shiwen originally wanted to stop the black-robed man, but now with the Star Beast spoke as such, Yi Shiwen was not in a hurry. Anyway, there was no way for the black-robed man to suck the spirit of Star Beast immediately. Although the black-robed man used special magic tools, his own strength was far worse than that of Star Beast. Hence, Even this time, Yi Shiwen could already see the difficulty on his face. Even Yi Shiwen could feel that the black-robed man was trembling slightly at this time, and he was obviously in an extremely difficult struggle. It was conceivable how difficult it was to tame a behemoth like Star Beast with low-level strength. It was precisely because there was no way to extract the spirit successfully in a while, so Yi Shiwen was not in a hurry. But you also know that I am not his opponent at all, Yi Shiwen said indifferently. He was quite helpless against that black robe, even though he really wished to kill the black-robed man. This maniac wanted to destroy the world. However, he didn't have a good impression on the Star Beast who had caused heavy damage to True Martial School. Yi Shiwen really wanted both of them to kill each other. Even if I want to stop him, there is no way at all. Yi Ziwen's tone was quite leisure, but only he knew he definitely needed to stop the black-robed man at all cost. Of course, he wouldn't let the Star Beast find out about it. I give you strength. I will give you strength. Don't you want the blood and vital energy from me? Then take it all. As long as you help me put this bastard to death, strangle him, or whatsoever. How could I be willing to be a slave? This damn bastard. Star Beast growled. It had already gone mad. Previously, as Yi Shiwen wanted to extract the blood and vital energy from him, he was resisting every moment. It didn't want Yi Shiwen to absorb it so easily. However, in the face of black-robed man's threat, it decided to compromise. He rather let Yi Shiwen absorb some part of its blood essence, but it would not want to be a slave. It would rather die than to lose its freedom. There was a hint of pride flowing in his blood. It would rather have a prideful death, rather than become a slave to others. Okay, I'll help you once. Yi Ziwen's eyes lit up suddenly and said so. Chapter 730. Chapter 730. Sinister Star Beast. Yi Shiwen certainly needed to stop the black-robed man from enslaving the Star Beast. If he really succeeded in enslaving the Star Beast, then it certainly would be a huge disaster for True Martial Domain. Whether Star Beast could help him or not, he would try to stop. However, even if he made a move, he would not necessarily be able to stop the black-robed man. After all, the opponent was off half-step Transcendent Realm. The opponent's strength was more powerful than him. Even though he escaped from the opponent's pursuit, he did not dare to underestimate the opponent's strength. In other words, he should have faced his opponent in full alert. But now that this Star Beast was willing to contribute his own blood and vital energy, the situation became completely different. If Yi Shiwen could step into the half-step Transcendent Realm in one fell swoop, then there was a chance to fight with Black-Robed Man. Previously, he was still thinking about how to use this battle to complete his breakthrough. Now it was impossible to think about it. He was pursued with no chance of fighting back from beginning to end, let alone use this opportunity to break through. If the opponent was just an average half-step Transcendent Realm, he could still try this method. After all, Yi Shiwen was proficient in speed. If he didn't die in one hit, he could quickly dodge away for a speedy recovery. With that, he wouldn't die in battle. If that process lasted a long time, Yi Shiwen would have the opportunity to step into the half-step Transcendent Realm. However, the opponent had spatial ability with incredible speed. Never mind having a chance to catch a breather and later on contend against the opponent. If Yi Shiwen were to be a little slower, the Black-Robed Man would be able to catch him and kill him. There was no doubt that if half-step Transcendent Realm Initial was divided into different levels, this Black-Robed Man was undoubtedly at the strongest level. The Black-Robed Man was so terrifying that it could restrain Yi Shiwen to such an extent. Of course, Yi Shiwen himself was even more incredible. Luckily, he was already at the peak of Great Sage Realm, Great Perfection, which was formidable in this realm. If not, he would have died long ago. Both were just mortal where the pursuit could only go on for so long. But originally, Yi Shiwen just thought of launching a suicidal attack to defeat the Black-Robed Man. With the help of Star Beast, naturally the odds became better. And on the other side, couldn't the Star Beast see it? Although it was grumpy, it was definitely not a fool. On the contrary, the long lifespan had given it many opportunities to adventure different things in life. It was already a sly fox. He could also see that despite Yi Shiwen and the Black Robe being opponents, It knew Yi Shiwen did not want to see the black-robed man enslave the Star Beast. But the matter had come to this point. It dared not gamble. What if Yi Shiwen ran away? In its opinion, this would be inevitable. Launching a suicidal attack against this black-robed man would be a one-way trip. If it was put into such a situation, it would definitely run away. It didn't know that this was just Yi Shiwen's avatar, not its main body. Yi Shiwen was willing to give it a go, but it didn't know. Hence, it didn't dare to gamble. And the most important thing was that you can't make a horse work without feeding it. Since it wanted Yi Shiwen to stop the black-robed man and chase him away, it would at least let him have the same strength as the black-robed man. As for increasing Yi Shiwen's strength, he was not worried. Yi Shiwen did not have the strange tricks and the magic tools. Never mind Yi Shiwen attained the half-step transcendent realm, he would not pose a fatal threat to it even if he attained transcendent realm. At the very least, there was no way to cause a fatal threat to him in a short period of time. It was quite confident in this. At least it was better than being a slave to the black-robed man now. For him, it was simply a shame. It would be better to kill it. Quickly come to the place where you just laid the array. I will pass you the strength of my blood essence. Star Beast was still roaring in pain. Just now, he hated the array of stealing his blood essence, but now it had become its life-saving channel. It must be said that this was extremely ironic. Yi Shiwen didn't hesitate. He immediately unfolded the demon wings behind him and flew quickly towards the arrays. At the moment when Yi Shiwen moved, the black-robed man noticed it, but it did not move. Rather, the black-robed man just looked at Yi Shiwen coldly. If Yi Shiwen had any signs of flying over, he would immediately make a move and murder this great sage that didn't know the limit. Fortunately, the arrays that Yi Shiwen had just placed was still a distance away from where the black-robed man was now. Seeing Yi Shiwen didn't rush over, the black-robed man didn't continue the previous pursuit despite not knowing what Yi Shiwen wanted to do. In his view, the most important thing at the moment was to enslave the Star Beast. Yi Shiwen and the like. Although Yi Shiwen was outrageous in the great sage realm, it was nothing in front of him. After enslaving the Star Beast, forget about Yi Shiwen. Even if the Transcendent Realm Master came, they would have to retreat. By that time, he would be among the top masters under the stars. When the time comes, his hegemony would succeed. Compared with this, there was nothing remarkable with Yi Shiwen surviving a bit longer. Yi Shiwen saw that the black-robed man had not chased him, and he was relieved. If the black-robed man rushed over again, he would start running away again. He knew that this was very unlikely since the black-robed man had to deal with this Star Beast first. Despite that, Yi Shiwen felt a little relief. Quick, start it. The Star Beast inside the barrier heard the news from Yi Shiwen, and suddenly a burst of star power ran wildly. A burst of angry roar rippled across the seal's sight. The Star Beast's blood essence was forced out with a secret technique. It even rushed directly to the barrier where Yi Shiwen had set the array, surging directly into Yi Shiwen's body. Yi Shiwen suddenly felt that a huge and unimaginable force suddenly appeared in his body, and it was so powerful that it allowed him to break through the half-step transcendent realm in one breath. If Yi Shiwen were to absorb it by himself, it would take at least a few months, and now at this moment all of it had poured into his body. It was simply surreal. He suddenly felt his 5 vessels burst wide open, stretched out by a tremendous force, and Star Beast's violent energy sprang up in his body. Yi Shiwen scolded in secret. Damn, so shameless. Yi Shiwen finally realized that this Star Beast didn't have any good intentions at all. It did not instill the blood essence into him. It was rather a secret technique in Star Beast, which allowed it to madly improve its strength in a short period of time. But once this period has passed, its own body would be miserable. This was not the martial techniques they used themselves, unless it was forced to do so. Only they would burn the blood essence. Such martial techniques were generally used on the puppets they controlled. Star Beast used to be alone, but they do have similar martial techniques. The predecessors of Star Beast had engulfed many worlds. They would have many similar techniques like this. Hence, having this martial technique was not surprising. If Yi Shiwen just accepted this blood essence, he could probably climb to half-step transcendent realm late for a short time. The consequence was that his cultivation would be completely abolished later on. This Star Beast was planning to have both Yi Shiwen and Black-Robed Man suffer a great loss. It gave Yi Shiwen power, far more power than the Black Robe, and then used this power to abolish Yi Shiwen. Sure enough, it was a clever idea. Who could have imagined that in such a critical situation, the Star Beast could still come up with such a vicious scheme, which completely befitted a cunning character like a 1,000-year-old's fox. The irritability and rage were both just for show. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen felt chills on his back. It seems that he had underestimated this old monster who had lived for countless years. It had moved unhindered for many years and was sealed in the end. However, it was not killed. It showed how strong it was. It had been too smooth all this while, making Yi Shiwen a little arrogant. It seemed as though those old fritters and old monsters were just like this. Yi Shiwen had constantly surpassed those cultivation. They all seemed not so strong. However, this lesson made him understand these strong men who were unhindered in the world for countless years. They definitely not only had pure strength, but also possessed ingenuity. In other words, being strategic was also a part of strength. Yi Shiwen burst into a rage in his heart. He couldn't help but be angry. If he said that he made a mistake once, it was called careless. But he had suffered 2 losses in front of this sly Star Beast and made 2 mistakes. It was the same last time. Even though Yi Shiwen knew it was a loss and knew it was a demon seed, he had to force himself to accept it. After all, if he did not accept it that time, he probably would be directly killed by the Star Beast's spirit. That Star Beast would never allow this transcendent realm master to control its own existence. But now this time, speaking of it, even if Yi Shiwen knew it might turn up like this, he had to suffer the bitter end. He could not watch the Black Robe do whatever he wanted. But fortunately, despite the Star Beast being clever, it would not expect that it would miscalculate twice in the case of Yi Shiwen. The first time, it didn't know that Yi Shiwen had the mysterious space and Tianyuan mirror in his hands. In the end, the Star Beast spirit, which was very powerful for Yi Shiwen at that time, died in Yi Ziwen's hands. Currently, history had repeated itself. Although Star Beast's cleverness allowed it to calculate many factors, it had never counted Yi Ziwen's avatar was off Star Beast's attribute. It was just hidden with aura convergence martial art. No one could notice it. Although Yi Ziwen's avatar was just a baby of Star Beast, it knew many secret techniques. There was a way to compress this blood essence into its body, and then slowly digest it. Not only would he not be injured by his endless blood essence, but on the contrary, he could use this power to quickly break through when this matter was over. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.